1, 2, 3, 4.
In this podcast, you will be here. Knights of Vader, includes, but is not limited to talk of Star Wars, not ray guns. We can't truly prepare for the joke that follows this song, but hey, we gave it a try. So here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Flux reports they are divided. Prequel, sequel, canon, love they fight. I know that we are just musicians hired, and their time is up. So here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
A big thank you to An Inspiriority Complex providing our theme song.
Hey, you're welcome.
It is June 6, 2026. What an ominous day to record this episode. My name is Zach Weber, and joining me today is Road to the Hutt's biggest fan, Chris.
All right, I'm here. We're finally going to do it. We'll air the grievances.
It's Festivus in June, everybody.
Exactly.
And
June
we
6th.
have maybe the most important person we could possibly have on for this podcast. It is the Bard of Vader, the man who has named two of the main characters of this film. Rob.
Well, one of them is no longer a Hutlet, so I feel chicken Hutlet Parmesan is not appropriate. As Zach might have noticed I think I put this in my Letterboxd review when I saw this a few weeks ago. I defaulted to calling him Swole Chicken Hutlet Parmesan, but that's not good enough, so I think we should work out a new name for him. But I actually have to ask right off the bat, Zach, you pronounced it when you just said Chris was his biggest fan, Rota the Hutt. That was my memory, that it was Rota, but in the movie they call him Rada. They're like Rada the Hutt.
Yes.
Is this they're fixing what Lucas messed up in the Clone Wars, or are they just doing like a Gunga versus Gunga thing?
It's definitely the latter, but my headcanon is this is Cowboy Hat Man's first retcon where it's like no, it was Rada. It was never meant to be Rhoda the Hutt. It's Rada the Hutt. So that's where we currently stand.
And he's not like his dad.
Had to make. I want to know. I'm so glad that we're recording and Chris didn't comment on this beforehand. I am wearing a Chicken Hutlet Parmesan T-shirt right now.
Is that real? Like
how does
the shirt pronounce that character's name? Where did you get that?
Okay. I want it known. I know Chris for the last few months has been pushing the video that you can watch in the Facebook group. But if you want to see the true biblical definition of disgust, please go to the Facebook group and see Chris's expression on his face when I held up my shirt to the camera, because that is truly what we all just witnessed. Chris, thank you. I've been holding this back I've had this shirt for about a week now. I've been holding it back just for this moment, and thank you for not disappointing me.
So that's a licensed product?
It is. I got it off the Jeff Bezos machine.
Wow. Shocking.
I used the gift cards. I only gave them $8 for it. As God
Zach,
intended.
You've only shown us the front of the shirt. Is there anything on the back? Specifically, in quotes, does it say, "I'm not like my dad"?
No,
I want to let you know that I'm not like my dad.
But it does say, "I am Jabba the Hutt's son."
Oh, but that's the least important part.
We
knew that
but
from the
somehow
Clone Wars.
We need to know it at the same time numerous times.
We need to know that this caged warrior is not like the gangster lord from 1983, I guess.
Who is it in, I guess, in 3 movies? 4 movies? Keeps going up every single time I realize how many movies Jabba is in.
2.
4 movies he's in. He's in Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, Return of the Jedi. I'm
going to go 1, Price is Right rules.
Did 3 movies?
I wasn't counting Clone Wars, so I guess you're right, yeah.
Okay, 3 movies. I think that's right. The great Wikipedia, the mentioned only in the Mandolinian and Big Whiskey. But yes, folks, we are here. Chris is here in an official capacity, not chiming in via the reception at the wedding. Rob is here, so I can only imagine the downloads will only go down from here. But no, these are the perfect people to discuss this movie with, because we have a very jaded cynic and we have the bard of Vader. Chris, we all know what your opinion is on this film. Rob, for those of us who are not enlightened enough to follow you on Letterboxd, what is your opinion on this movie?
Well, I knew it was coming out for a while. I mean, I saw the trailer a good bit of times, and the internet hive of people that just like to hate on things that are populist were just constantly getting ready for how bad this movie was going to be. And I was like, well, I got to go see it, though. So I knew it was coming out. I was like, I got to check it out. It's the first Star Wars movie in 17 billion years or something like that. You know, I have some connection with the property, I guess, you know, Mando and Big Whiskey. So I knew I had to go see it. I went and saw it opening night, and I want to set the stage for a few things I want to talk about. One, it wasn't an empty theater that I saw it in. It was maybe like 20 people total. So emptier than I was expecting. And they were completely resigned. There was no reaction from the audience whatsoever. And I'm setting that up right now because that's going to lead me to some questions where I'm be like, well, there's a lot of stuff in Solo that I picked up on because the audience reacted. And with no audience reaction, did I miss anything? But we'll get to that. So I did go see it that opening Thursday, probably like 6 or 6:30, whenever it was. Like I said, about 20 people. And it was fine. It was, like many other people have been saying, it's the thing I thought while watching it. It's a very condensed or drawn out version of a TV series, of a season, of like season 4 or 5 or whatever the Mandalorian's not up to yet. I don't have much of a problem with that, as other reviewers seem to have. I've seen a lot of people be like, it was good, and then the movie ended, and there was another hour. And I'm like, well, the second half of the movie is based on his consequences from the first half. It's not really that disconnected. But I thought it was fine. I think I gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. The one thing that I was not happy about is the score was incredibly grating, which is rare for me because I love Ludwig Göransson. And just the visual lighting of it went from dark to bright to dark to bright so quickly. It really like put me in an anxious state of mind. Like the score was really aggressively grating and the lighting was constantly just strobing at me. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to have a seizure for most of the movie. But with that being said, it was still a Stars War and I thought it was fine. I do have to say, because this has come up more in recent years, as I'm getting older, I am getting like incredibly sensitive to changes in light. So when I go to the movies and I see stuff on the big screen and it goes from really dark to really bright, I am like, oh, and I close my eyes. That's kind of a me thing. I don't know how much it was really exemplified in this movie, but I thought it was fine. And props to Big Whiskey for being a puppet pretty much the whole time. I didn't expect him to do that. I thought it was going to be CGI goop the whole time.
Okay. Because I have pontificated enough on this movie. Chris, I want to give you the floor to give your thoughts, proper time and spotlight. Please enlighten us.
All right. Well, the first thing is I actually had basically no intention of going to see this movie.
I love it.
I really was considering just not seeing it. And the trailer looked that bland to me. I was that disappointed with season 3. And it's just, I think I said this when I briefly called in the last time, but like, you know, my general attitude is that it should not be this hard. This is like I had a buddy message me and say, yeah, I watched the Red Letter Media review and like, man, those guys just hate on everything. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just so jaded. It was fun. And I watched I checked out the Red Letter Media thing, and like there was a simple, you could sum it up in a very simple thing. They have one line in there where they're like, I don't know, this movie could have used something like, you know, like maybe like a girl anywhere. Or like some dialogue that related to the characters, you know, like your second lead can't talk. Your first lead has a space helmet on for the whole movie. all the other human characters from that we liked from the first 2 seasons are gone. We just drop in Sigourney Weaver for 2 scenes as if she's an established character. I didn't feel there was enough of a substrate to grab onto here, and I feel like they tried really hard to make this as so accessible to new audiences that I felt very little relation to any of the series. I think they wanted you to be able to have watched 2 episodes of season 1 or none of it at all, and just been just as fine with the whole experience. And I think you're kind of crazy to assume that anyone going to see this hasn't experienced season 1 and 2. Like, I don't know if the numbers bear that out, if that's a fair statement or not, but like, I think they could have handled a little. The audience brain could bridge some gaps if they connected it a little more to the show. Like, you're gonna do a movie. We got no clone Moff Gideon. We got no Timothy Oliphant. Like, there's no logical continuation of season 3 or 2 for that matter, or Book of Boba Fett. Like, all of those plot threads are just dropped, and we don't know if we're getting any more. It's just weird, like, seat of your pants decision making, if you ask me, and it's sort of a little bit of a disservice to the existing show, because it's like you could have relied on some of those assets, carried that story a little bit farther, and now that it did badly, who knows if you'll ever get a decent conclusion to that show. I guess the decent conclusion was the end of season 2.
Please remind me, and of course the audience who's uninitiated for Knights of Vader, is the end of season 2 the deepfake Luke Skywalker episode?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Chris, you kind of implicitly answered my question, but I do want to get it out there explicitly. I agree with you. This movie felt very safe. I mean, it was them being like as safe as they possibly could to me, it felt. Now, I wanted to know, did it feel safe because they were playing it safe, or did it feel safe because there's stuff from the show I'm not getting out of this? Because that was one of my things. I was looking for audience reaction to be like, oh, if they like a character shows up and they get excited, I'd be like, oh, that's something from the show. I should like Google that afterwards. Did I miss anything for not being caught up with the show, or was this, as you're kind of, it's sounding like, totally separate from the show itself?
Is there anyone from the show? Like, I don't think there's any characters. I guess.
Well, that's the thing. I don't
Fricks.
think I've seen what 2 episodes of season 2 and like a 15-minute chunk of season 3 with colorful tie things or whatever in Tatooine.
I guess the twins are introduced in the Book of Boba Fett, but that's not necessary in any way. It's like you can just first see them in this movie without any pretext.
So the answer is no. I didn't miss anything for not being caught up with the show. I guess there's something I should have looked up. When did season 3 end relative to the release date of this film?
2023. It was, I want to say, probably late spring of 2023.
Wow. I just thought people were putting in the lip service of saying, oh, this feels like season 4 of the show. That if it's that long, then guaranteed this was season 4 of the show, right? That they turned into a movie with that amount of time.
They claim they did not do that. They claim that season 4 was written.
Well, they also probably claim this cost $25 million. So I don't know.
Well, I think the low budget on this, I think, is pretty evident considering just how pretty much everything is just Mandalinian suit combined with either Big Whiskey or Babu Fricks or CGI Chicken Hutlet. No, they claim, again, hard emphasis on the word claim, that they were going to do season 4. They threw season 4 out and they maybe sprinkled some ideas from season 4 into here, but it is a story that was written once they got the mandate to make a movie.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though. Yeah. There's a guy, you probably saw this story, Zach. The bald guy who's like the gangster in the first half an hour. He said that he filmed his scenes for season 4 at the time. They were calling it.
He didn't say he filmed it. He said that he was going to be incorporated into season 4 or Book of Boba Fett season 2. He didn't film anything. Because if you go back to, because I did go back to that one, I think it's the beginning of episode 7, season 3 of The Mandalorian, where you have the Imperial Warlord Council. You do see the Goober from the beginning of this movie. You do see Commander Coin, and you see Moff Gideon. So yes, there is some level of planning still to all this. And I will say, Rob, you might be weirdly impressed with this, going back to our history with just you and I, Star Wars. I did see the movie for the 6th time today in preparation for this recording.
The Mando and Big Whiskey for the 6th time?
6th time.
God.
And I did see, on Monday, I went to New York City and saw it in Lincoln Square as well.
Well, you better have gone down to the city for like 4DX, or the biggest IMAX in the world.
It is Lincoln Square. I did research it. It is objectively the best theater in the entire North America. That includes Canada land as well, Chris.
I don't know, that art house theater where I got to see Sylvain Chomet's Marcel and Monsieur Pignot is pretty good. Screen might have been the size of a TV, CRT TV, but it was pretty good.
But no, I will say that going back to all this is that you can. Okay, Chris, maybe you saw it as well. IG-11 was in this film because there's set photos of him, and they cut that out. So I do think that there was a lot shot for this movie that was cut out during editing or butchered during editing. Maybe not J.J. Abrams or anything like that level, but I do think that there's a lot of excised footage that they cut just simply for just streamlining things.
Well, with what was just said about some behind the scenes stuff, can we differentiate if it was shot for this movie or for another season of this show or any other show? They did not shoot anything
for season 4. They did not. Here's the thing.
How do we know that?
Because they never greenlit season 4. That's the thing. They never. Star Wars is in such a weird position right now within the stable of the Walt Disney Company that the only things that have been greenlit are Jedi. I'm sorry, I keep saying Jedi Starfighter, Maul season 2, and Ahsoka season 2. That's it. And I know there are set photos of that middle portion of the film where you have Mandalinian and Big Whiskey on Navarro with IG-11 in his like Marshall costume that he has at the end of season 3. And there are other photos of like during the Snow Planet AT-AT Walker sequence where there are snowtroopers on top of an AT-AT Walker shooting at him, but they're shooting toward like the head of the walker. Like I said, I have a feeling that much like every other Disney Star Wars product, there's an insane amount of excised footage that we are not privy to. Even watching it today, the moment in the middle of the film where we see Big Whiskey and Chicken Hutlet like playing on the beach and it's like dusky, like or like maybe twilight on the beach, that feels like something that would happen at the end of the movie, not something that would happen in the middle of it. It seems, like I said, I the more and more I have seen this film, it feels like they maybe didn't reshoot things, but they rearranged the order of scenes relative to how they originally planned to have them in the order when the film maybe was in pre-production.
I will certainly divert to you guys about the Disney machine, the Star Wars machine. I don't think we have to spend any time going down the rabbit hole of, Zach, your response was, they never greenlit it. I don't care. They probably haven't greenlit 60,000 things that they're shooting at any point in time, Star Wars or otherwise. But I totally defer to you guys. That's not a rabbit hole we need to go down. I do want to go down the rabbit hole of, because it's on the screen right now, I'm looking at a picture of one frame that is one of 4 frames we see Pedro Pascal's face in the movie for. I know this is something that you guys have talked about with the show, but I am very interested to know, like, for this movie specifically, and if there's something with the later seasons of the show that need to come into this, I understand. How much of the Mandalorian's performance, vocal and physical, can truly be attributed to Pedro Pascal? Because I'm cynical like everybody could guess from my previous appearances on this show and what I just said about the green light thing. But anytime his face is not shown, it's not him. I don't think at all. And I would say for about 60% of the dialogue, I was like, that is not Pedro Pascal. That is AI regenerated speech from the hours of the show that they fed into ChatGPT or Grok. I don't think Pedro Pascal was in this movie, technically. What's the actual like Star Wars community consensus on that?
So, season 3, he was not on set. He was paid a voice acting fee for season 3.
Okay.
For this movie, the fact that I want to say the 3rd and 4th build actors are, as Chris loves to say, John Wayne's grandson, and the stunt double is 4th build in the credits.
I didn't know Big Whiskey was John Wayne's grandson. That's awesome.
That's the joke, though, is that he is, again, season 1, it's anyone's guess how much he was, or again, at that point, Pedro Pascal was still kind of like a working actor. Nowadays, yeah, they probably had him on set for a week to shoot that one sequence in the snake dragon pit. But beyond that, no. The moment he puts the helmet on, he is not anywhere near principal photography.
Okay, that's what I figured. And like I said, when I started watching this movie and his helmet's on the whole time, I'm not in the mode of like, Carl Urban and Judge Dredd being like, wow, he's actually giving himself over to this character. I'm like, that's not him. That's not him at all. And then they take his helmet off and I'm like, okay, so we get to see him. And then he like fights a few water creatures. And then the Hutts are like, hey, you can have your helmet back. We don't need to pay you anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's the proof that it's not him in the suit. That kind of was the nail in the coffin to me when they're like, oh, this is worth so much on the black market. Oh, you had a good time cutting off a alien's head. Here you go. Have it back. And I was like, okay, sure. Whatever.
I'd go farther than that. I think if you actually saw Pedro Pascal in the full costume in wide shots, you'd be like, why'd the Mandalorian get so small? What happened? Why does he look weird? That's probably what would happen. But yeah, like, no, I'm sure the voice is actually him. But, if you add up all his 3-word lines of dialogue for the whole movie, I'm sure it's about 4.5 minutes of dialogue.
Yeah, I would agree.
Straight.
I mean, let me with that example, one of the things that I didn't like this about the movie, but it was the line that made me really think like, oh, they just took all of his audio, or maybe not his from the show, whoever was doing it, and they put it into some, AI generative model. I have to say, I found the section where the Mandalorian is like, for all intents and purposes, dead, and Big Whiskey is covering him with a few leaves and then meditating. I was like, this is interesting, at least. Nothing much is happening, but I like that they put this little puppet on its own adventure or its own little alone time. So I found that to be a very interesting part of the movie. Sure, you got the Deus Ex Machina of this random alien being like, hey, you're weird and small, and someone big and scary's looking for you, so I'm going to give you the antidote for the big scary guy that takes care of you. And Big Whiskey's like, how do you know my life story? And he's like, wait, never mind, I shouldn't ask, just give me the antidote. And then he cures the Mandalorian, and you get that kind of slow reveal of, oh, the Mandalorian's gone, like what happened? He's going to be like 15 feet away, and he is. And he just walks up to Big Whiskey and he goes, he's like, the old protect the young protect the old. This is the way. And that's the end of it. And I'm like, that's all we're going to do. That's all we're going to do with that scene of like this little creature, like fending for its big, I don't really want to say this, but owner, since he talks to him like a dog, basically the whole movie. But then it's the way that line is delivered. The old protect the young protect the, it sounded like misclipped audio. And I was like, this has to be from the show. There had to be a part of the show where he was like, the old protect the young, different episode, the young protect the old, different episode. This is the way. And they jammed it together. And I was like, not only did you not put a great button on that scene that was interesting or segment that was interesting, you also made it sound as clunky as possible. Now, I'm not saying I wanted, the Mandalorian to be like, Big Whiskey, thank you so much. You saved me. Oh my God, I never would have lived. And or scold him, be like, you shouldn't have come back. That's not the way. but I wanted something more. I wanted it better done technically and emotionally.
Yeah, he should really find it incredulous that the baby saved him. Like, he should be like, surely this didn't work out properly. Like, this doesn't make any sense. You found an antidote in the woods somewhere?
That's a great point. Yeah, the Mandalorian should be like, tell me who helped you. I have no faith in you. Tell me who helped you.
Rob, do you know the name of the character that saves him, that gives him the little like potion in the woods or in the swamp? The Gator Man, do you know what his official name is?
I do not, and I don't even think I have a good like Star Wars analog to make a joke with.
Oh, you
So,
could.
no.
Okay, so Rob, his name is Gatori, Gatori.
Just that?
Gator-
Just one name?
Yes, that's his
Okay.
name. The Gator Man that lives in the swamp on the swamp planet, his name is Gatori. Get it?
I
Rob?
get it. I think they could have done better and called it like Deuso. That's first name Deuso and last name Ex Machino or something like that.
But okay,
Is it? I'm trying to remember that whole segment. Like I said, I found it really interesting where it's just Big Whiskey in the woods, like fending for himself without the 4 Babu Fricks tagging along. And I was like, that's cool. But who is this person in the woods? And isn't there something before like the bounty hunter like goes up to the person in the woods where the person in the woods is like, so you're the one that's been stealing my fish. And I'm like, he stole it one time, didn't he? And he's like, you're cool though. You stole my fish. Here's some fish. And I'm like, we don't need any of this. We don't need any of this. Like, I'm so far removed from Star Wars, and so I don't know if I would really have liked what I'm about to say. Remove that character completely. Have Big Whiskey like figure out how to use the Force to heal Mandalorian. Wasn't that established like forever ago that Force healing's a thing? And maybe if he can only Force heal the wound, which might happen in the movie if I remember right, can't he like, I don't know, like Force cure blood midichlorian cancer or something like that? Like, why have another character just drop this into the film? Make that like the moment that we see Big Whiskey is, oh, it's not this helpless thing. It actually has its own agency and can save the day. Because what else do we see?
Misunderstanding of the Force, Rob. You know, it's a little bit. You know how like the T-1000 can only make knives and stabbing weapons, not complex mechanical devices. The Force can only sort of play with the space-time continuum and like speed up healing. He can't synthesize a chemical antidote with the Force. You know,
See, I'm glad you're bringing me back down to the Star Wars world because that's absolutely right. You can just do the superficial stuff like close a wound, like lift rocks.
Because
like
first of all, he doesn't even know
disassemble
what the
a
poison
droid.
is. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I wanted more from that segment. I was disappointed by how it ended.
so I will say to your point, Rob, about the whole the old protect the young protect the old. This is the way. Is that I've been going back to the trailers for this film, and if you look at the second and the last trailer, there is a hard emphasis on that theme. I asked the listener, go watch those trailers. There are lines of dialogue that are not in the final film that are in those trailers. Even from Sigourney Weaver, it's missing. I have I didn't even realize this, but my friend who I went to go see the IMAX preview with on May the 4th, when she saw the film, she said, "Oh, that dialogue is missing." And I'm like, "Oh," and she's like, "The scene is there, but because he's wearing the helmet, they're able to take lines of dialogue out." And I went and I kind of thought about it. I'm like, "Wait, you're right. That in that sequence, like when they're going to oh god, I think it's Martin Scorsese, a Blade Runner City planet. There, it's like he does say to Big Whiskey when he's like prepping his armor, it's like, "Hey, I'm not going to always be around to protect you. You need to be prepared for this." I have a feeling, going back to the excise footage that we know that they shot for this, I think that was a major theme between the trailers having dialogue from that combined with that one moment from the IMAX preview. Not saying how major it was, but I have a feeling that maybe they stripped that thematic element out of the film in post-production. Just an idea.
I could see that because I certainly got that sense from the trailers where it was like the prep your armor stuff. I'm not always going to be there to take care of him. He's going to live 7 billion years longer than I do. And I'm like, that's just on an existential level. I'm like, okay, I give up then. Like, who cares? So I do have to quickly say, is what I'm seeing on my computer screen with like our panels on the left and this absolutely wonderfully ridiculous picture of Big Whiskey drowning, is that something that the fans will see?
In the Facebook group only.
Oh yeah, but, I didn't know. I would have taken a shower and prepared if I knew the video was good, because I bought these great Final Fantasy neon lights that are behind me. Nice. I just have to move my wall of liquor bottles to see them. I would have prepared. This picture's phenomenal, though. What is this picture?
Doesn't he look a bit like Eric Cartman in this picture?
Yes, absolutely. Is this from a trailer? Is this from the movie?
This is a little column A, a little column B.
I want this to be my avatar on something now.
This is the IMDb gallery for the movie, so who knows what it is. There you go. The key shot of the whole promotional phase of the film.
I have to say, what we've been seeing is just like a slideshow or a scroll through of IMDb gallery pictures. We did pass a little bit ago, like the German poster for the movie. And at the bottom, it had the translation for "This is the way." And it was like, "Dear Erst est way" or something like that. And I thought it was very funny. Yeah, who are all these people making these movies?
Rob's like, I didn't know you need this many people to make a movie with AI.
Right.
Okay, and here we have John Knoll, the creator of Adobe Photoshop, who was the VFX director on the film. Somehow it's as stupid as it is. It's amazing.
So, okay, this is something that I'm curious to ask specifically Chris and Rob. So, toward the third act of this film, we have the sequence where Mandalinian is outside the throne room of the twins, and he fights 2 literal Phil Tippett stop motion monsters,
which I did not know until after seeing the movie. I found that on Reddit somewhere, and I was like, oh wow, I wish I would have known that before, and I could have watched that with a keener eye, because at that point I was kind of checked out from a lot of the action. I was like, okay, we just got to get back to the throne room or whatever at that moment.
With that being said, though, Chris, I guess my question to you overall, not just specifically to the stop motion question, is, are there any redeeming qualities to this film at all?
Let me see if I can find it. The Phil Tippett thing kind of breaks my heart, because it's just like they're like, what can we like? They brought him back to do. What are you looking at, Rob?
So okay, there's a few. Go to this. The not English. Juntos como debe ser. Juntos como debe ser. I like that.
Yeah, no, but
I can't pronounce that one.
They brought back Phil Tippett to do a few things. There was one shot of the blur, maybe it was his studio, not him. One shot of the blurgs in season 1 through the binoculars is stop motion. There's maybe like a crane or some type of crappy AT-AT in the Solo movie that's stop motion. I think that was him. The chess scene in Force Awakens was Phil Tippett's studio. They brought him back to do a few things. This is clearly the most plot integral sequence they've had his company do, and like I was already just so unbelievably bored by the time those droids showed up that like I didn't. Maybe they're doing a really good job. Like finessing the motion blur digitally, whereas I didn't even remotely occur to me that was a stop motion sequence, and it didn't.
I would agree completely. Yeah, it did not register at that point. I would love to go back and watch it though, because I'm sure this is going to be on Disney Plus in 2 weeks or something. It's on now. Am I wrong?
Oh yikes! But that's like, again. So I want to go back to, because I didn't really get to talk about this with Chris, and it's always fun discussing new movies with Rob. Is that going back to my inaugural theater going experience? May 21st. And I was watching this, and the idea came into my head, and this is where I know Chris is going to disagree with me. Rob's probably going to shrug, is that there is something genuinely special about this movie. There is. and this is how I want to frame this before I ask Chris and Rob this question. In the year 2026, the Walt Disney Company made a movie for a tentpole franchise of theirs where the protagonist is wearing a face covering for, let's just be conservative, say 95% of the runtime. His sidekick is a literal puppet, and most of the interactions between the protagonist and the secondary protagonist is with either aliens, other puppets, etc. Non-human actors, basically. I remember back in the mid-2000s when like they were talking about like Michael Bay Transformers and things of that such. And it was just like, oh, we'll never get a proper Transformers movie because the studio will never allow us to have anything beyond just the majority of it being human beings with a couple of Transformer scenes sprinkled in. And you almost have to respect the fact, at least in how I view all this, they made a Star Wars film, maybe to their own detriment, that is literally a fantasy film. You have a helmeted character interacting with almost exclusively aliens, puppets, CGI goop. I'm not going to argue that. But at least at its core, this film is extraordinarily well-intended. And I'm not, again, the film could be better. I love the film. Like, even upon my 6th rewatch today, I love the film. It is by no means my favorite, but I love it. But there is an element to this film that's just the idea that Disney, even though they only pumped in approximately $160 million, which is absurdly cheap for a Disney blockbuster, you do have to give them some level of credit for being so strange with this film in a way that even Marvel, like, again, Rob, like, we have Avengers Doomsday coming out in 6 months? There's no way Avengers Doomsday is going to be as strange as this film is. There's going to be no stop motion in Avengers Doomsday. We know that for certain. There's going to be no puppets in Avengers Doomsday.
Well, I'm holding out hope that the entire thing is stop motion. But, well, Zach, I mean, you said I was going to shrug, which is a very apt guess at my response. But I think, though, that kind of is why I found so much enjoyment in this movie as I did. I mean, like I said, on Letterboxd, 2.5 out of 5 stars. That's right down the middle. That's a movie that is fine. You know, this was not a half-star movie, which is reserved for things I just despise. You know, I kind of didn't think about it, but yeah, the stuff that I like is that, you know, when I put in my review and I said earlier, this is a Star Wars, it is, and it's really fantasy. It's a lot of aliens. So I kind of, you know, hindsight, that is one of the things I did find fun about it.
I think I said this when I briefly called in. You know, this is the 3rd Knights of Vader episode or 4th Knights of Vader episode about this movie somehow. Is that accurate?
3.
But,
third.
But
I'm
okay,
not on the first.
But yeah, like a lot of the weird production elements you mentioned, like the lack of human actors and stuff. Like, I think I compared it to Predator Badlands on when I called in, and like very similar. The lead protagonist is not even a human. There's like 1 or 2 human actors in the whole movie, and a lot of weird CGI creatures and stuff. I don't know. I found that had a much more coherent narrative. This, I just don't care about chicken Hutlet Parmesan. And it's like, why is that? He's just too funny and too weird. And he's just not, like, you're making, like, we're talking about this, we're really talking about Jabba's son. That's what we're doing with this movie. Talk about Jabba's son who speaks English and lifts.
It sounds like you didn't pick up on the fact that he's not like Jabba. That's a big part of the character.
No. I'm not my father. That's how he talks. And it's just like,
yes, chef, I'm not my father.
yeah, it's like, oh my God. It's just, and also how disappointing was Nal Hutta, you know, after hearing about it for 30 years in books and comics. And it's like, Jabba's palace is way sketchier and greasier than the whole planet that he's from.
But I will say though, but like even you have the weird incestuous thing with the twins. I respect the fact that they still have not even named them independently. They're just the twins. I don't know, man. Like you do get like, I agree with you. It does not have even one iota of the ambiance of Jabba's palace on Tatooine. I get that.
Why?
But here's my thing though, is that like, but that's the weird thing about this movie though, is that it's amazing what they are leaning on and what they're not leaning on. Dude, Chris, think about it. You partially Star Wars podcast for almost a decade. And yet when I'm watching this movie day one in the theater and they're going to Nel Hutta and you have Zeb say to Mandalinian, oh, they've contracted the droid Gatra for security. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, as a diehard Star Wars fan, I had to do research after watching this. And I love that. I thought that I was researching it. I'm like, oh yeah, that was the thing from the Solo like novel I read like in 2018. I'm like, again, this movie,
but it's just safe, man. It's like you go to Jabba's home planet and they're so afraid to have like alien chicks in bikinis in the throne room that we're just going to put all droids. They're like, oh my God, we can't have any of that stuff. Jabba's palace was way too problematic. Let's just make them obsessed with droids. And then he can kill as many of them as he wants and it's no moral issues there whatsoever. And it's just boring.
Here is the counterpoint to that, though, and this goes back to goddamn Red Letter Media. And the thing is that people, again, Red Letter Media beat the drum so hard in the late 2000s, early 2010s of there being too much CGI gobbledygook in the frame. And again, we have to understand that we live in that world where they want, again, it's a balance. Like, I know one of the bigger complaints about this film within the Star Wars community is that, like, on Shikari, there are very little presence of aliens, like civilian aliens, with the exception of the Rhodian mother and her baby. Like, I get that. But that's the problem, though, is that because Red Letter Media and people like them beat the drum so loud 10, 15 years ago that, oh, you can't clutter up the frame with CGI. And that's why everything feels so just like, even the AT-AT Walker sequence. Like, there's
I have no sympathy for these people. If they could ship out a crate of Ithorian costumes to Tunisia and make villagers wear them for the pod racer audience in 1998, like, get it together, guys. You can do this. You have the costumes sitting around.
I that's the thing. I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, we have to concede the current culture we live in, combined with also too, they made this film relatively low budget for them. Like, they did.
They have
like,
3 seasons of assets they can pull from that they could have just used.
I don't disagree with you. That's the thing. How many behind the scenes videos have there been with Jon Favreau being like, oh, look at all this. They made a goddamn Road to the Hut little puppet for a hologram sequence for not even 30 seconds. Like, again, the intention is there. I don't want to say convinced that they cut a lot out of this film because, like, but I feel like there was more of a fully realized product here, and you had
nobody at the wheel,
executive,
man.
What's that?
There's nobody at the wheel. How this ever could get approved is so far beyond my comprehension.
But that's where, again, I don't know what to believe with Lucasfilm, because, like, for the last 10 years, I've always assumed that, oh, there's a bigger plan, and I'm getting a little nervous that that there might not be a bigger plan.
There's never been a bigger plan. For 12 years, there's never been a bigger plan. I think there has been a bigger plan. They just constantly throw the plan out every week. That's the problem, is that... That's what I'm afraid of, is that there is a plan, but it's always discarded.
No, I don't. Once again, I have to defer to you guys for being steeped in this stuff so much more than I am. I've always thought the plan was they have like a ticker counting down to the moment George Lucas dies, they announce they're rebooting the original trilogy. That's always been the plan, right?
Yeah, probably. Sadly.
That's what I've been thinking since they bought for Lucasfilm, I was like, the minute George Lucas dies, they're going to go, wow, maybe there's 12-hour news cycle of, wow, what a legend. He created something, and he got all the media reverence that Disney needs to do. And then the next day, Chiwetel Ejiofor is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and just announce all these other characters. And they're we're rebooting A New Hope.
What's the chick from Obsession? She's going to be the new Padme.
I really hope not. She's fantastic. She needs to be in good things only.
Oh my God.
Yes, Indy Neverready, one of the greatest performances I've seen in a movie. She does not need to be Star Wars. I mean, Natalie Portman has not aged that much. She could be Princess Leia.
Digitally de-aged Natalie Portman.
Yes, for Padme, but then real life, like current day Natalie Portman for Princess Leia.
Oh my God.
But no, I mean, I have to say, once again, yeah, it's cynical from my end of things, but I've always been like, that's what they want. That's what they want to do. With Disney being like in the business of remakes, that's what they've always wanted to do. And they tried it with The Force Awakens, and it worked great. It just wasn't called the same thing. Worked great, monetarily.
But here's my question, though, when it comes to just the current landscape of Hollywood, the Walt Disney Company, yada, 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 is that while I was watching this, the inaugural day, going back to the whole idea that your protagonist is wearing a helmet, his sidekick is a Muppet, I couldn't help but think and again, this is more of a question for Chris, maybe more than Rob, is that you would have to assume at some point in March or April of this year, a Disney executive was watching practically a final cut version of the film and said, oh God, we've made Dredd, but worse. and again, Dredd's known as a great action film. I was there for Dredd opening weekend back in 2012. No disrespect toward Dredd. But you have to imagine at some point a Disney executive was watching this 2 to 3 months ago and said, oh God, we made one of the biggest calamities we possibly could. Our protagonist does not show his face outside of maybe 4 minutes of screen time. And our secondary lead is a Muppet that can't emote by design.
Well, the Muppet emotes way more than the Mandalorian, at least that. And but it's also like the placement of the Pedro Pascal face reveal is just so weird and inconsequential. It's just like, why was it convenient to put it there? Like, could it have served a narrative purpose somewhere else? Like, also, why is his mustache so well groomed if he never shows it to anyone? Like, I have a lot of questions, but it's I think comparing it to Dredd is like, it's much more boring than Dredd. Let's be fair. I think my favorite part of the movie is when a guy gets kicked into this bar that you're seeing in the screen right now. He just smashes through all the drinks in that bar, and it's like very satisfying. That's probably the best part of the movie. Because it's just so like how like Rogue One and Solo are like actual movies. Like, this is not a movie. It's just like, there's no characters. There's nothing compelling about it. The plot is like very low stakes the whole time. It's just like.
But Chris, to your point, as I've rewatched this, there is a lot of things, and Rob, this is where I'm going to need you and your background when it comes to just like psychologically when it comes to movies. There are a lot of things in this movie that happen and don't happen that are psychologically jarring. I'm going to give a couple examples. I'm just going to ask for everyone to hold off until I finish. So in the opening action sequence, Mandalinian AT-AT Walker. The first AT-AT Walker, he puts some explosives on its leg. It blows up. It falls over. Sure. He goes to the second walker, and you have that very it's supposed to be a long take, but obviously with digital photography, anything can be a long take if you try. He goes through that entire walker, shooting 30 people, and then blows it up. And then when we go to the third and last walker, he does his thing. My question is, where is Big Whiskey at all during that second walker action sequence? Like, psychological, I mean, like, as like is the audience, I'm watching Mandalorian go, he has he has Big Whiskey in his arms as he plants in the walker, no Big Whiskey, and then when he lands on top of the third walker with the pilots, they're like, we're just pilots. We can't do anything. Big Whiskey's all there all of a sudden. Like, that sort of thing to the audience is psychologically jarring because it's like, oh, wait, what? Like, where is this character? Other moments throughout the film, he just he is captured or incapacitated and loses his pistol, the Mandalinian. And then out of nowhere, he just has the pistol again. There are other moments in the film where, especially toward the end, he'll pick up a blaster, like again, Chris, less Rob, more Chris, and you listening at home. He picks up a very specific blaster, starts using it, and then it just disappears. And he has either his pistol or the rifle a frame later. And I know in technical terms, those are called continuity issues. I get that. But like, what is that? And this is to Chris's point, 100%. What kind of movie is this where there are that level of continuity issues and like nobody seems to care?
Well, you can find out exactly whose fault it was. There's probably people credited with script supervisor and continuity in the credits, and we can start a public campaign against them. But I was too checked out to notice the continuity errors. It's really simple as that.
But I kind of want to say I did notice them, but I was too checked out to care. When Mandalorian gets dropped into the pit with the water creatures by the Hutts without his helmet, and he has to fight the water things, I'm just like, oh, how's he going to get out of this? Yeah, before the giant snake shows up, the tiny snakes or whatever. And I'm like, oh, how's he going to get out of this one? And he just has a gun at some point. And I'm like, or a spear or some type of weapon. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I know the movie needs to continue. I mean, I don't want to bring this up as being like my lasting legacy of Knights of Vader, but Star Wars seems to lean on the car with square wheels things a lot. Like, it moves, it pushes it forward, and it's clunky, but it moves. That's just what Star Wars does, as far as I'm concerned.
But Rob, like, I've always agreed with you that Rise of Skywalker is the car with square wheels. This is just like, this is a car with like drawn on like cartoon wheels where it's just like, oh yeah, it's there, but it's not though. It can't move. Oh yes, it will. And it's like somehow the car is able to drive with only 3 wheels. Like, even toward the end. And like I said, this is the definition of like a nerd nitpick, is that like he is on, Rob, forgive me, he is on Navarro where he gets captured by the bounty hunter Embo. Both of his ships speak. One of the very minimal points of continuity between the movie and the show, the M1 Starfighter is still on Navarro. He gets kidnapped, whatever. And then by the end of the film, when they're on the base with the New Republic, the Razor Crest ship is there. Inexplicably, it's just there on Navarro. And it's like, wait, did the Babu Fricks, did they fly it? Like, it's like we make it very abundantly clear in one or two of the establishing shots in the rain where Embo is attacking his little hut. They're like, oh, the ship is there because he's working on it. He's upgrading the ship he got as part of his deal to New Republic. He leaves it on the planet. He obviously is off on Nel Hutta for the 45 minutes of the movie's runtime, and then by the end, oh, the ship he was working on is now on this planet inexplicably. Like, that's where I, like, as much as I disagree with Chris's opinion on this film being fun, I do get frustrated as somebody who does appreciate movies, cinema, that like, can you please just respect the idea of just linear storytelling?
In theory, Zach, I 100% agree with you. I don't like those minor things as much as I don't want to ever come across as the, cinema sins type person of like, oh, I didn't watch the movie and this is a problem. Ding. It's like, yeah, I want there to be continuity. And like Chris, you said, yeah, there's script supervisors and things that jobs that are meant to correct these things. I did not sit down and I did not think about this movie afterwards in any way, shape, or form as like a movie that I would expect that from. This to me was like a Star Wars product where I kind of just implicitly, subconsciously turned my brain off to that stuff. I mean, I noticed it, like I mentioned, but I was like, huh, that's weird. Okay, let's keep going. Next scene, next puppet, whatever. It didn't register with me in the way it would for like an original property, I would say.
So I guess my question is, again, I like to think that the people who I'm talking to are both learned, well-rounded individuals. So like, what does this mean?
There was a big pause after that. You were waiting for both of us to say something.
Yeah, I know, right? I was expecting some level of humility. I guess
I know, do words good, only numbers.
I just want more, I expect more from these men in their 50s and 60s who are running the show,
But here's my thing though, is that, and this is to your credit, Chris, is that like, if they can't even take, like, the whole point of what I've been talking about for the last 10, 15 minutes has been these weird continuity issues. Isn't this simply, oh wow, like this, I don't know, little leaf petal or whatever in the background of this tree looks weird. I'm not talking about that. These are things that are psychologically jarring to the audience because you might not notice it in the moment, but your brain does. Because the moment that something doesn't flow naturally, subconsciously your brain clocks it and goes, oh, there's something wrong here, which again, subconsciously tells you, oh, there's something weird or incorrect about this product, which reflects your overall opinion of it.
Because the art form of cinema is so degraded in its current state that like those jobs are not like real jobs
Nobody
anymore.
cares.
Like
I don't even think it's that it's real job or not real job. I think it's a level of indifference. And this is where I want to segue a little bit to Rob, the Cinemoddities person, because I think as someone, again, Rob can tell you, going back to high school, I've always loved the box office. Zenger always loves to laugh about how I always bring things back to the box office. But Rob, tell me if I'm wrong. We are living a very interesting moment in time when it comes to movies. I can't speak for this weekend, but last weekend we had 2 horror movies directed by, I don't want to say auteur filmmakers because I think that's giving them too much credit, but we have 2 horror films that are pretty much designed to be their own thing. They're not franchise filmmaking. It's the literal opposite of what Disney Star Wars is. And these 2 films are sucking the air out of the box office to a degree that I can't even remember. Because even at work a couple days ago, I'm like, the last time you had horror movies really redefine the landscape, not just of horror, but Hollywood, the box office, etc., was Paranormal Activity and the Blair Witch Project. Also, summer of 1999, going back to the Phantom Menace. And Rob, I'm curious, like, it cannot be understated that you have this moment where you have a Disney Star Wars tentpole underperform, and yet you have these 2 micro-budgeted films in comparison really just drink Disney's Kool-Aid. Thoughts?
Well, I would agree. I have to say first off that, Zach, I am so happy that you didn't want to call them, independent auteurs, but you didn't just rely on the crutch everybody else is using, young filmmakers. I've hated that about Obsession. Curry Barker's like, 26? Kane Parsons is 20, who directed Backrooms. I can't stand the critiques of those movies being like, well, yeah, the parts are bad or because they're not old enough. I'm like, that's ridiculous. To Chris, like you said, we have 50-plus-year-old guys making this movie. They should do better. Like I don't like the age thing regardless. If you grew up in a splintered household with crazy family dynamics, as a 20-year-old, you're going to write better about like psychological trauma from your parents than a 50-year-old who had a silver spoon in their mouth the whole time. I don't enjoy the age narrative that's been going around with these movies. But to your question, Zach, I do really appreciate that we have these kind of independent, I know that gets thrown around a lot, kind of grassroots, out of nowhere, just stories getting told that people want to go see. That word of mouth is actually a trajectory for them. that has to be because they're original. You can't have positive word of mouth for Star Wars anymore. Even if this movie came out, it was great. You'd have so many people being like, no, Star Wars is back. This is the movie. You got to go see it. The internet would go, cope. You're coping. That's not true. This is bad. I think that the legacy of Star Wars bogs it down so much, and that naturally makes these other independent movies stronger just from a kind of on paper theoretical aspect.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is a conversation for another day, but considering the film goers and demographics that are powering not just Backrooms, not just Obsession, not just, oh God, Rob, what's the other movie that comes, the weird Fathom Events movie that's coming out, that the 2000s Simpsons era CGI event, The Last Circus, The Last Digital Circus.
Oh, The Amazing Digital Circus.
Yes.
Yeah. I which I know nothing about other than the creator was like, the fandom has ruined me. It's toxic. I never want to create again. And I thought it was very funny.
But I think it cannot be argued that the same demographic that is empowering Obsession, Backrooms, whatever Rob just said, the long title I can't remember. The point being is that this is the same demographic that was 10 years old when The Force Awakens came out. Mm-hmm. And they have, it looks like, completely abandoned Star Wars, or maybe never even glommed onto it to begin with. And I find that fascinating, that whereas I grew up with the prequels and became a lifelong fan, I know Chris is that weird kind of fan where he kind of, not say he grew up with the special editions, but that was kind of his first meaningful taste of Star Wars.
Not even both the blue 95 set, man. I when the special editions came out, I saw every difference when I saw them in theaters. I was noticing them right away.
But still, the fact that but again, you were in that the dark times, as it's referred to as, before before the prequels. That's the point, though, is that Disney was so overbearing in the mid 2010s with making, I guess, unsuccessfully trying to capture this demographic, that once they became of spending age, where they had disposable income, they would have them. And I think that the combination of last weekend's box office just shows that they failed. And I don't mean that in any sort of derogatory way, like to, again, like Rob said, to like, oh God, roast Star Wars on the coals. But like, it's pretty obvious that Star Wars does not speak to the new generation. Not to say they don't have some level of appreciation or affinity for it, but they do not have that level of affinity that me of the prequel generation does.
That's just, I feel like that's just such an unfair way of characterizing it, because this movie doesn't speak to anybody. That's the problem. Like, this movie is so bland. It's so unbelievably bland and uninteresting. Like, that is the problem.
I hope it is, though, but I think that's where it's weird, though. Again, the lowest opening weekend ever of a Star Wars film. Like,
good. It should be. It is by far the worst Star Wars film ever. Like,
I have to,
like,
no, isn't there some Ewoks movie you guys all hate that's worse than
Isn't there a Clone Wars movie that came out in 2008?
I would much rather watch the Clone Wars movie than ever see this again.
That's insane. That's literally insane.
No,
I cannot rack my head
Well,
around
while
that.
I agree with you, Chris, that yes, this movie is very bland, it's safe, like we said, and everything, I don't think that we should discredit the fact that we are generations removed from the people that grew up watching Star Wars in theaters. You know, it's like my dad saw it in theaters, then he showed it to me. Now, if I had a kid, I would just be showing them the echo of my appreciation for Star Wars. It was different when our parents were directly there. Now we're just looking at echoes. I mean, imagine one more generation, another Star Wars movie comes out. It'd be like, Daddy, why do we have to go see this movie? Because your great grandfather loved it. Like, it's diminishing returns with just the legacy of Star Wars. They need to do something new, which gets me back to them, Disney chomping at the bit to remake the original trilogy to get new people back into Star Wars. I mean, and what the generation that's not your great-great-grandfather, well, Daddy, why do I like these movies, or why should we like these movies? Because your grandfather liked the prequels. Well, did they like them when they came out? No, they got turned into memes. They were original memes of the internet culture, so that's why we love them. We are getting echoes and diminishing returns of what Star Wars has meant to the zeitgeist.
That's interesting. The idea of echoes of nostalgia. What a fascinating concept. But I guess
I wasn't even thinking about nostalgia. You're right to use that term, Zach. Of course, that's what I said. I wasn't thinking about it though. But that leads me to the question: what nostalgia exists in this movie? It's for your grandfather who goes, looks like Jabba. That looks like Boba Fett. That looks like Star Wars. But it's not Star Wars to them.
Well, I'm glad you phrased it that way. And I know we're short on time. So I want to do a two-part question. One, there is very little Star Wars, as in Star Wars proper, in this movie. There is no a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, which I was kind of shocked at. I knew there wasn't going to be an opening crawl, but the fact that even Solo got the iconic title card, and there's no John Williams score. Like, even because Rob, I'll never forget this. In one of our Nights of Vader recordings, I forget what context you tell this anecdote, but you're like, okay, I'm watching the movie, the bad guys lose, good guys win, and then you get the John Williams score, ba 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 ba, and we don't get that.
Yeah,
we don't get that. Like, it's weird to think that. And I know, Rob, you weren't a fan of the Ludwig Göransson score, but like, it's interesting that Disney made such a deliberate step away from traditional Star Wars, and the score being probably the most definitive example of how much, again, it's Star Wars, but it's not Star Wars in a very subtle sort of way. And just the part two of this, I do want to mention, and this goes back to obsession in backrooms, and but specifically the backrooms. And that in my research for backrooms, and none of this is hard to find, is that because who's the director of that? That's Corey Parsons?
Kane Parsons.
Kane Parsons, excuse me. Got Corey Barker confused.
Corey Barker, but sure.
Sure. And so the point is that, like, oh, yes, like, how did this 20-year-old filmmaker get to do this? It's like, not really. It's that Focus Features, which is a subsidiary of, like, Universal, surrounded him with established talent. They surrounded him with James Wan, Osgood Perkins.
Yeah.
Rob and I love Osgood Perkins. And most importantly, Sean Levy, who is directing Star Wars Starfighter, coming to theaters May 2027.
Oh, really?
Yup.
I thought you were going to say Real Steel 2. I thought that was finally happening.
Now that is an insane deep cut. Insane. But that's my point, though, is that, like, maybe, again, like, whereas the 2010s and the late 2010s for Disney Star Wars was very much like, oh, let's hire these new and upcoming filmmakers, and then let's just micromanage them into them quitting or resigning or whatever. Who knows? Maybe this is the new era, not just of Star Wars, but of filmmaking, where it's not let's hire someone who made an indie film like Colin Madman Trevorrow, give them $300 million budget, and then just the studio micromanages them. What if we hire a young auteur filmmaker? Sorry, Rob. And then we surround them with competent producers.
That's a good use of the word young. Inexperienced, maybe, get them around people
Novice.
That can shape their vision into something. And that's the thing. I mean, with the backroom specifically, the age thing, they've been harping on it so much, be like, the dialogue's bad because he's young. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. It's not like they gave him 100% control of this movie. He's not even credited with the screenplay. He's credited with the story. But either way, I do think that we need more just independent creativity. We don't need this, committee filmmaking. And I know that's been a buzzword for Star Wars, Marvel, and all these other properties, DC, Hunger Games, whatever, any big IP. You have this committee filmmaking. I do want to see us get away from that, because when you have somewhat of a singular vision, yeah, it might be great. It might be amazing. It might be okay. It might be bad. It might be atrocious. but at least it's a creation from somebody. And we can be like, hey, I have a response to that artistic product. Where it's like when we have these responses to like Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, every Avengers movie or Marvel movie post Endgame, everybody's like, this failed, this is so bad. And it's like, well, who do you blame? There's nobody to blame other than the machine. I would rather, this sounds crazy, I'd rather have a specific person to blame than the machine to blame. Because if the machine is to blame, you get the scapegoats of like people going, in 2015 or whatever, being like, Kathleen Kennedy's a hack. She's the worst thing. She's a female hire. She has nothing of importance. She's never done movies. And it's like, no, she's a producer on Gremlins. Like, what are you talking about? And I think we need the individual versus the machine for that reason.
I agree. But I guess two-part question. One more question, one random possible trivia fact. And this is to both Chris and Rob. What do you think? Because at this point, this movie is going to make less money than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. What is the worst lesson that they're going to learn from this film's performance?
The worst lesson? Well, the joke answer is they didn't hit the fact that Rhoda the Hutt's not like his father enough. I think that needed a little more screen time. I have to think about that. Chris, do you have an immediate answer? Worst lesson?
Yeah, the worst lesson they're going to learn from this is that the failure of this film has anything to do with the IP. It's just a stupid, unnecessary movie that has no story and no actors, and it makes you feel nothing, and that's why it fails.
Vehemently disagree on the feels nothing thing, but I respect Chris's opinion.
I have to say I kind of agree with that they're not going to see it as a Star Wars problem. I mean, Zach, this is something you and I have talked about years ago, but I mean, the success of the Michael Keaton, Tim Burton Batman, where that was so successful that technically wasn't the first superhero movie. That was the big one that broke through. And what lesson did Hollywood take from that? Oh, we need more like 20s noir, and they make The Phantom and like stuff like that. And it
Dick
was
Tracy.
Like, yeah. And it's like, okay, you didn't realize that Batman's the thing that made that work. It wasn't the aesthetic. And I mean, that's of course the Joel Schumacher.
The kids love
Batman.
Art Deco. The kids want their Art Deco.
Art Deco Joel Schumacher Gotham is the best example of that, where he's like, okay, there has to be a statue of Atlas holding up a globe that has nothing to do with Gotham except the train system. And it's going to be covered in neon lights. And it's like, okay, sure, Joel Schumacher. I think it's kind of somewhat of not an inverse, but like a contrapositive of them being like, well, we did everything wrong other than it being Star Wars. If anything, Chris, I'm with you, where there's people in rooms right now going like, why didn't we call this the Boba Fett and Boba Fett baby movie? Come on, that was our fault, And I think you're right that they're going to be like, Star Wars isn't the problem. Everything else is the problem. That is an issue because Star Wars is the problem.
Like I said, I don't know how to answer that question. Last bit of trivia, and I don't know how true this is, but Rob's going to laugh as to what the source of it is. From the Blank Check podcast, Rob.
I figured that's where I was going to go. Ever since I brought up David Sims' article about Shrek and how it agreed with my thoughts on Shrek billions of years ago, Zach, I was like, this is going to haunt me forever. This person I really disagree with has the definitive take on how I feel about Shrek.
I will say that, like, I was listening to beyond their Mandolinian and Big Whiskey episode. I was listening to their Master and Commander episode, and it's great. What
are they doing? Peter Weir?
Yeah, they're doing Peter Weir.
Wow, I've been so checked out. Well, pun intended. I've been so blank checked out. I have Master and Commander on Blu-ray from my dead uncle's DVD collection, Zach.
What a phrase! What a phrase! But anyway, though, it is fun to say that David and Griffin. I will say David definitely hates Griffin now, which is fun to just think about, considering that Cinemoddities is the a sad child of the Blank Check podcast. But anyway, though, that's not the point. But in their episode on Mandolinian and Big Whiskey, supposedly Griffin tells the anecdote that there was, I guess, a day of shooting where they're doing cockpit footage of Mando in the just cockpit of the Razor Crest. And apparently that entire day on set, all Jon Favreau did was grilled cheeses for the cast and crew.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like a fun set to be on.
Hey, he made Chef. Chef's a fun movie. I like that movie.
Good point. Here's my question: was that being done out of like a sense of camaraderie or like collectionalism?
It was contractual obligation.
Did they like not have craft services that day? Like, why would they be making sandwiches?
What happened was that somebody had like 400 pounds of Gouda cheese like on their spreadsheet at the end of the fiscal year, and they had to figure out some way to write it off.
Here's the thing. It would be reasonable to give a second unit director of photography the cockpit sequence where he's flipping switches and not saying anything. But the fact that he's there, and I'm sure now that story's out, he would rather have not done it because it just sounds bad.
I don't know if it's true or not. It's the Blank Check podcast. I'll let Rob immediately debunk any sort of credibility they have. But yes, I found it very funny.
They got probably better researchers than just me, who gets tired after a little bit. But I have not listened to it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and say their guest on it was like Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni or something.
Rob, it was Chris Gether.
Oh, wow. Ever since they had Kevin Smith on, I was like, okay, well, this is garbage. I'm never going to listen to this again. And then every once in a while, it'll pop on my feed and it'd be like, this episode with Ari Aster. And I'm like, I don't care. Yep. I don't care anymore. I don't care about these directors' lives, these actors' lives. I mean, we mentioned Red Letter Media earlier. I haven't watched a Red Letter Media video since like the first time Jack Quaid was on. I was like, okay, wow. I don't care. I don't care what I don't care what this actor does.
Dude, he's gone now. It's great again. Don't worry.
I feel like Chris, you're saying that when if I pulled up YouTube right now, it'd be like part 1 of 6 Jack Quaid discussion.
No. He's been gone for a while. I'm pretty sure. But anyways, yeah, like, you know, Star Wars is not necessarily broken. You know, Jedi Fallen Order had a better story than this movie. You know, like it could be done.
I would not know. You remember from that discussion, I skipped every cutscene.
The AT-AT walkers are the same though.
Was that the model? That's the swamp walker.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because this weekend, apparently, if you download like an app on your phone, you can like, and you have like AirPods, you can like listen to Jon Favreau's commentary while you're watching the movie in a theater. Because that's where movie going is right now, everybody.
Wait, are you saying like you can like get it something on your phone to listen to it while you're seeing?
Yes.
That's what museums have been doing for 30 years.
I know. What a time to be alive.
That is the strongest case for me to have a second viewing I've ever heard. Too bad it's probably gone everywhere by now. But
hey, I got one of the last. I feel like the last chopper ass Saigon. I saw one of the last IMAX viewings in the country this afternoon. So I'm pleased with myself as a Star Wars fan. I will sleep easy at night. Years from now.
Yeah, I know. I can't see this in IMAX anymore in Northern Colorado because guess what's taking up those theaters? Scary Movie in IMAX.
Really?
Yep.
All right, boys. Listen, I gotta get going. Are you guys gonna stay on? Because I'll come close it later.
Yeah, no.
I would like to stay on because I have a few more questions. But Chris, there is one last question that I want to ask you. I know Zach's gonna have an answer to it, but I would never want this to just be a Zach question. I think back to watching Solo in theaters, and at the end, we get that cameo of Darth Maul with the robot legs. And when I saw that, one person in the theater, which was probably 50 people compared to the 20 that I saw Mando and Big Whiskey with, one person was like, whoa, to Darth Maul, you know? And it was like, okay, everybody, I would assume the majority of audiences knew who Darth Maul was at that moment. That never happened during this movie. Now, like I said,
did not.
That my audience was totally reserved. I was not expecting that. I was thinking showing at this theater was going to get a little more attention. Are there any special cameos a la Darth Maul and Solo that I missed because I'm just aware, or did that not exist at all?
I don't count Embo, and
that was going to be my only question. From context clues, Embo's person that captures the Mandalorian and the Babu Frick,
but
right?
but he's not a character. There's nothing like that. Look at it this way, guys. We really made fun of the Book of Boba Fett, and that has like 2 episodes that have Luke Skywalker. This movie has nothing of the sort, and I've like just repackaged the Mandalorian episodes from the Book of Boba Fett as a movie, and it would have been better than this. I am shocked, confused, and offended, and it's going to take me a while to recover. But have a good night. I would love to talk about a different Star Wars topic the next time.
Chris, I'd love to talk about any other movie, period, from this year.
For sure. For sure.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Right, see ya. Bye-bye. Have a good night, guys.
Bye,
Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
Well, Zach, now that I have you here, Chris was great, of course. I did not know that you guys were going to be so divided on this film. That kind of leads me into one of the questions that I have for you. From the Star Wars, like the diehard Star Wars fan community, which I know you all Knights of Vader are a part of, what's their consensus of this film? Because I think the basic moviegoers, the hate mob on YouTube and stuff, yeah, they're always going to say negative things. And I know a lot of like basic letterbox reviews just like, yeah, I don't know, Star Wars, whatever, which is kind of what I felt like. What's the diehard Star Wars community's response to this?
Okay, so the vibe I'm picking up on, and again, this is a broad stroke at best, is that the Star Wars fandom is incredibly dejected right now. Everybody, and I love Chris. I think Chris is being a little hyperbolic. I think he's maybe giving it too much criticism than it actually deserves. But going back to just between the things like you've said, like I've read online, things I've listened to, things I've watched, I think the Star Wars fandom is just depressed. I think that is the overall vibe I'm getting. I agree with Chris that this film, even though I love it, it's a weird thing in the grand scheme of Star Wars. It is an anomaly. Like whereas you can look at Solo, you can look at Rogue One. You can point to those and be like, oh, this is a movie made by human beings. Even with Solo being this weird sort of like Frankenstein's monster of Lord and Miller combined with Ron Howard. This feels like the Clone Wars movie, Rob, like going back to Good God, when we discussed that almost a decade ago. It feels like a cinematic adventure made by people who don't know how to interact with other people. and that's where I think but to answer your question, the overall vibe is the fandom is best case scenario depressed. Okay. That's how I look at it, because there are people out there, again, like the algorithm on social media has me very much plugged into people who like this, because obviously I like it.
Yeah.
But when I do venture out into other realms, it is very much a thing of either, oh, this is bad, or this is a mess, but an enjoyable mess. And that's my read on the situation.
I guess that leads me to a question I didn't have written down, but I would then that leads me to ask, what is this in the wake of this movie? How does the diehard Star Wars fandom expect the rest of the IP to go? I mean, you mentioned that there's like a Starfighter movie coming out. I know I've heard rumblings. I don't know if it's the same thing about like Ryan Gosling's going to be in a Star Wars movie.
Ryan Gosling will be in a Star Wars.
I remember hearing about a Stars War. Thank you. I remember hearing like Steven Soderbergh and Adam Driver wanted to make a Kylo Ren movie. I heard that like in rumblings, and I was like, that's the stuff when I read on the internet, I like back out of it and go, nope, I'm not listening to them. I gotta listen to what Zack and the Knights of Vader say. So like, what is the expectation for the IP going forward?
That's the short answer. I don't know. Long answer is we're in trouble. because I don't know I think that's the problem with the Walt Disney Company as a whole right now, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be Marvel, whether it be Pixar, whether it be the theme parks. I don't think they know what they want. I think a lot of that comes down to just the current, socioeconomic culture, climate we live in. Again, going back to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, that was a bomb 3 years ago. And yet Disney they closed the dinosaur ride and they're making that into an Indiana Jones ride. That's just one example. Look at Rob. I don't remember was there a Letterboxd Tron Ares review by chance?
Oh, guaranteed there has to be. That was. I
don't remember it, but it's there.
I really started using Letterboxd in 2022. I know that Tron Ares came out after 2022. Yes. Keep talking, Zach. I will pull it up for sure. Okay, but I did see it. I saw Jared Leto melt away into blocks in all its glory.
But that's the point, though, is that like Tron comes out in 1982, is again okay box office film. 30 years later, they make Tron Legacy. It underperforms. 10 years later, they make a ride about it. Good God. 5 years. Oh God, at that point, 5 years later, they make another movie that bombs. And the thing is that these are all multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations. They don't pour money into something unless there's a goal. And that's my feeling with this movie, is that this movie isn't even meant to be a movie. It's not designed to make money in the short term. It's not even designed to make money in the way that Lucas looked at these things, as an advertisement to sell toys and like bed sheets. Mm-hmm. These are now these are brand deposits. For the same reason why this movie exists is the same reason why Tron Ares exists. It's designed for someone to go, oh wait, I remember this thing. I'll go on the ride at Disney World. Oh wait, that ride was really fun. Let me go get Disney Plus for a couple months to watch the thing. Oh wait, I really like the thing. Let me go buy a t-shirt of the thing. And then guess what? Someone sees that person wearing the t-shirt and goes, oh, I should get Disney Plus. Oh wait, I really like that thing. Let me go to Disney World to ride the ride. And the cycle just perpetuates itself. That's where I feel we are, is that we've really become this, oh God, what do you even call it? Just, I don't even want to say I think Machiavellian is almost too kind of a term, but it's just like if we just keep shoveling enough of the coal into the boiler, it will produce heat that will make the shareholders happy.
It's a phrase I have not either heard or used in a while. Late stage capitalism. It's just, can we lose out on one thing to make the other things more profitable? And you're right. Even though I don't really see Tron as an IP like I see Star Wars with like merch and stuff like that, you're absolutely right that it is. It's the revitalization of an IP to do that, to keep the machine whirring. I do have to say, I was not wrong. I did see Tron Ares. I didn't fever dream memory that. But I have that at number 70 from last year, 2025. Number 70 out of 141.
Jesus.
It's basically at the halfway mark. I think it was one worse than Death of a Unicorn and one better than Oh Hi.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh Hi was, well, when you're anything past like 20, you get into stuff I don't really like.
Again, that's where I think we're currently at right now. And I don't know, I will say time is a flat circle. Everything is cyclical. But this is, if you look at your Walt Disney history, this is exactly where you would expect to be. Because if you look at where Disney was 20 years ago, it was in this weird sort of moment where, sure, they had one of the highest grossing movies of the year with Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, the second one. Well, again, that was back when movies making $1 billion was a big deal. And then like for the next 5 years after that, they kind of were in this weird sort of malaise where they didn't know what was profitable. They were making movies like G-Force. They were greenlighting a Tron sequel. They didn't know. Again, we are exactly where Disney always is in this 20-year cyclical nature. 40 years ago, they were making, good God, this is when like the Black Cauldron came out. They don't, this is the exact moment in time where they don't know what they're doing. And the theme parks are going to keep them alive as they have always done for the last 70 years approximately.
Along with the merchandise, I would also assume that's the biggest moneymaker.
I don't think. I think it is. The merchandise isn't really around that much anymore.
I should pull back. I should not say the merchandise is the moneymaker. The fact that they can make contractable licenses to companies is the moneymaker.
Yes. The fact that Papa John's has a Toy Story 5 crossover right now.
Can we? Okay, I didn't want to bring this up. I thought this was going to be like the big end thing, but I want to bring it up now. I have experienced a Mandalorian and Big Whiskey crossover in a like retail space.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready for it?
Is it the Nilla Nummies?
No, I did not go that far. Even though I saw that, I thought it was a joke. And then when I saw it was actually real life, like vanilla wafers, like was like we're calling Nilla Nummies. I was like, okay, you didn't need to give me any more reason to tell us that the terrorists were going to win, but you did. So you know Burger King's slogan, "Have it your way."
Oh God!
So guess who had the tie-in meal?
You had the Bounty Whopper, the big Bounty Whopper.
There were four tie-in items for the Mando and Big Whiskey at Burger King. I only tried one of them. It was not the barbecue Bounty Whopper, I think it was called. I never got the cup.
You didn't get a cup, Rob? You were robbed.
No. Well, we'll have to talk about my other tie-in that I did get a big whiskey glass. But
yes.
No, I did not get the Whopper. I got Grogu's garlic chicken fries. And I'm using that name because that's how it's presented in Burger King format. Yes, it should be Big Whiskey's Big Whiskey Chicken Fries. That would be the correct title. Let me tell you, I got this like 6 times. They were really good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I loved them.
Yeah, dipping sauce is great. Like, who would have thought
the dipping sauce? I had a heart attack after looking at the dipping sauce. Okay, let me tell you, every time I got the Big Whiskey's Big Whiskey chicken fries, I ate them plain because the first time I got that garlic sauce and I was like, oh yeah, garlic sauce, I love garlic, and I opened it and it was like, this is butter, you're eating butter. And I was like, yeah, if it was 10 years ago and I had a metabolism, maybe I'd try that, but nope, you're selling me butter. It's literally the Whitest Kids You Know sketch of like the 6-year-old saying like, can I have a butter bar, and dropping 7 quarters on the table. And Zach Kreger and Trevor Moore are like, should we do this? Should we sell it to him? And they do. And he eats it and he goes, my heart hurts. Can I have another? It's disgusting. The garlic sauce is disgusting. That should not be allowed. I don't know how that made that past the FDA. The Grogu's garlic chicken fries are phenomenal, and I'm going to be upset when they're gone because there's a Burger King really close to my place, and that's an easy, just like $2. I get 4 of them, you know? So I did participate in the extracurricular merch of this movie.
But like, here's my thing. Now, this is where I want to, because again, you are the definitive outsider looking in amongst our ranks.
I don't know how I feel about that, but I think I feel good.
If anything, it's a badge of honor, to be honest with you. Is that they, like, one of my biggest complaints about Star Wars over the last, decade is that they have never known how to market it in the way that Lucas was able to market it. And like, one of the examples I made was like when The Force Awakens came out, the official fast food tie-in was Subway, and the giveaway was tote bags. It's like, because when you're trying to court kids, nothing gets them more excited than going to Subway and getting a free tote bag out of all this.
I'm going to be honest, Zach, you might have felt this when Attack of the Clones was coming out. Nothing got me more excited than to buy a bag of bugles where I'd get a puzzle piece of one of the characters.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay, you're going to laugh, but I have one of those puzzle pieces right here. It was not. Man, Chris really was right about having this as a video thing.
Zach, you know that there are 1,700 of these buried in my dad's attic boxes somewhere, right? Of course. The moment I was like, Dad, I want to collect something, and he went, "Okay, we're collecting it." But Zach, I'm not like my dad.
No. You're not like your father, like a certain other protagonist that I happen to be wearing a shirt with his face on.
Does not work because Zach knows my father. And if I go, Zach, I'm not like my dad, he goes, okay, say that to the 1,700 road signs you've collected your apartment. Tell me you're not like your father collecting nonsense. And I'm like, we don't have to get that real right now, Zach. Or we should get that real because it's been, what you say, about 2.5 years since I've been on this podcast. Anyway, yes.
I know.
I'm with you, though. It is a merch machine. And
but here's the thing, though. They are treating this film in the way that Lucas treated the prequels, because they didn't do this level of, like, I'm not saying that the ad nauseum marketing for Star Wars wasn't there with the sequel trilogy. I'm not arguing that. I mean that, like, when you think of the conventional ways to market a new Star Wars, this is the first time since Disney has owned the IP that we're seeing them do this. And this is one of those things where I think they're going to learn the wrong lessons, because they did do a marketing blitz, a rather conventional marketing blitz. And what's fascinating is that relative to the level they invested in it with all their, when I say invested, I don't mean dollar amount. I mean, just with all their different brand partners, it landed with a thud, relatively speaking.
When you say relative, you mean to like other merch tie-ins?
Sure.
The release of previous movies?
Yeah, and also just the overall just grosses at the box office.
Well, sure. Yeah.
That's what I mean. And that's where I'm a little just surprised, is that they did finally market this in a conventional way. And it doesn't seem, again, like the brand awareness, the audience awareness of this can't be ignored. Everybody was aware this was coming out. It's just that it seems like, unless you were a diehard Star Wars fan, you literally could not care less about this.
Yeah. Even if it was that many years since the previous Star Wars film, that's kind of how I treated it, and how I kind of got this surrounding audiences to be treating it. Be like, oh yeah, okay, they're doing that. Cool. I honestly want to compare it to when Scream 7 came out. People were like, okay, sure. There's another one. Cool. That's kind of what I was saying before about like the echoes of nostalgia in the Star Wars, It's like, okay, this is just happening again. It's like when the eclipse pops around every 15 years, when the cicadas pop up every 13 years. We're like, this is just life. This is what we do. But that shouldn't be where Star Wars is. Star Wars should not be, any intellectual property should not reach that point. It should be ever evolving. But yeah, that's an ideal world, of course.
Of course. But this is what I find fascinating, though, is that, like, and this is, again, another question specifically tailored for you, but, like, you remember back in late 2019, early 2020, Big Whiskey was everywhere. Like, that was like they struck lightning. He was culturally ubiquitous in a way that I honestly can't remember the last time something Star Wars was that just universal. Right. Maybe R2-D2, maybe C-3PO.
I don't even.
Darth Vader.
You're talking about late 70s, early 80s right there, with maybe a resurgence in late 90s, early 2000s. Maybe Jar Jar Binks got that culturally ubiquitous, but not with the same level of positivity, of course.
Yes.
You are so right. And I have said this to so many non-Star Wars people. I'll never forget this. I don't remember who to attribute it to exactly, whether it's you or Chris or Zenger or Russell or Joe or whatever. But someone of you on a Knights of Vader episode, you had the great take of saying the moment that they showed Baby Yoda on screen, George Lucas was destroying his house. He was throwing stuff at the wall going, how did I not think of that? And he was pissed. And I believe that is truly the case, because the only thing that Lucas and Star Wars and the entire concept of it, if you boil it down, is marketing, is merchandising, is toys. I mean, that's the story. It's equivalent to me where you hear in high school, like, okay, Al Capone, you know, he was the biggest gangster of all time. He killed 70 million people. He built casinos in Las Vegas on the bones of his enemies. But how did we get him into jail? Tax evasion. Isn't that cool? Isn't the U.S. government great? No. You're telling me that everybody knew he killed people and you got him on tax evasion? That's Star Wars to me. Everybody's like, Star Wars is the greatest thing ever. They have the greatest movies. They're all awesome. You pick anybody and you have them focus in on one movie and they go, yeah, that's not that good. That's not Star Wars. It's like, okay, so you're Al Caponing it. You're looking at the bigger picture than the simple picture. We need to build up the simple picture to get the bigger picture. I'm so tired of not only Star Wars, but Marvel and any big IP. I mean, I'm so tired of people being like, you know, oh, Robert Pattinson Batman's pretty good, but we need to compare it to the Christian Bale Batman. It's like, why? Why do we need to do that? We can do it, but why do we need to do that? Why are we doing this like constant spinning our wheels and just going around on a Ferris wheel with IP? Can't we just like have things that have people have different interpretations on? Star Wars, apparently we can't. They all have to tie back into extended universe, discontinued universe, Road of the Hutt, Pierce Brosnan is or is not Thrawn. I'm just really digging into my deep memory of being on this podcast before. But I hope you know what I'm saying, where it's like, there's so much baggage with Star Wars, and they can't let it go. It needs to be let go to be successful.
But that's the thing, though, is that they did do that back when they bought it, and they kind of jettisoned everything that was like those books from the 90s, the Galaxy of Fear, Rob, going back into the annals of your memory.
I'm really sorry to cut you off, but I think that you have to acknowledge everything that you have just said and are about to say, which is my assumption, is not known to the regular Star Wars moviegoer. I only know that they made all the extended universe books and stuff non-canon because of you guys. Mm-hmm. No real person watching it. Real person. I'm so sorry. That is so degrading to the listeners of this podcast. But anybody not in the field of Star Wars is going to be like, okay, that's what they're doing next. Okay, there's this dude, Thrawn. He's blue. He's not Pierce Brosnan. Even that's me going too deep into what I know from you. Yes. You know?
Yes. But that's the thing, though, is that they tried to have their cake and eat it too. It's like, okay, like we own this thing in 2012, 2013. We're going to take all this baggage and shed it. And then now over the next 15 years, we're going to accumulate our own baggage. And then it's like, okay, where do you go from here? It's like, that's, like I said, I don't think, I think baggage has something to do with it. I also think at the same time too, that like, and this is where I think this movie and the way it kind of, like Chris mentioned, is not connected to continuity in any sort of like meaningful way that you need to know. But like, I think another test of the Disney machine is going to be Avengers Doomsday this December. Not that it's not going to make $2 billion, but it's going to be an interesting test in just, okay, you have a fatigued property. I remember years ago, Rob, we had Sleepy Skunk on the podcast, and he would talk about dusty properties. I think we've reached a point where properties aren't just dusty, they're fatigued. It's like it's the cow that's been milked to death.
They're crusty. I mean, that dust won't come off with a blow. It comes off with a power washer. Absolutely.
But that's my point, though, is that, like, again, Disney is the king of intellectual property, and not to say that these things will not generate profit going forward. It's just becoming more and more demonstrable that these things are not going to make money in the short term for them. These are all going to be different forms of brand deposits, like the example I gave with Tron.
Is that this? I'm now going off on tangents that I have other things I want to talk about with this movie, but you're making great points. Is that kind of like the long-term plan of these big companies like Disney, with whether it be Star Wars, Marvel, Tron, anything, even it's Warner Brothers with the DC universe? Is their goal to be like, hey, if we pump something out now and lose money on it in the short run, we will make money back in the long run? Because, yeah, I mean, let me think of like, what was the movie with Brie Larson? Was it just called Captain Marvel before Endgame? That nobody liked that movie, as far as I know. Everybody hated that movie. Everybody made fun of Brie Larson for being like, if you're a white man, you go see this movie, I don't want to hear you. But nobody talks about that as like a failure anymore, because the rest of the series was so profitable and so successful. Is that what they're banking on? Are these studios playing the long game? And if they are, I want them to own up to that a little bit more, because I'm getting sick and tired of not only the studios, but all the YouTube commenters going like, Superman cost $200 and only made $210 million at the box office. We need to make 6 hours of YouTube videos about this. I'm like, I'm tired of this. Like, are we in for the long run, or are we not in for the long run? Like, let's make, and I get, Zach, the reactionary commentary from YouTubers. That's their point. That's their existence, where they just need to release a video every day reacting to the most, hot topic of that moment. But it's like when they keep coming back to this notion of like, this movie came out and it bombed. Oh my God. It was expected to make $60 million on Thursday. It only made $55 million. What a bomb. I'm like, how long can we keep this media machine going until people are like, this is stupid. This is not interesting? Because I ran out of fuel for this like 2 years ago, and they're still doing it. They're still over here going like, Star Wars is a failure. Big Whiskey only made $50 million on Thursday. It was projected to make 52. What a flop. And I'm like, are we really here for that? Is this what we need to be watching on the internet, or at all, period?
Well, that's where it comes down to just the social media has created this whole new layer of armchair quarterbacking that's just unprecedented. That's harder to gauge, but getting to your point of like, okay, the studios need to own up to this. I do say that Disney is in its own league because they do have the apparatus to profit off these things in ways that the other studios don't.
Full machine. When you say apparatus, full machine, absolutely. So they 100%. Know what game they're playing.
Well, that's what I mean, though, is that, like, again, it used to be so relatively transparent, because it'd be like, okay, the fact that Attack of the Clones made less money than The Phantom Menace doesn't really matter, because Lucas made more money off the toy rights than he did off the grosses. And it's like, oh, I get it now. But the problem, though, is that, like, they don't sell toys. But the whole point is, oh God, like, there's streaming games. There's so much stuff out there that's just there to keep the brand in the public consciousness. And I think that's the point, is that, like, again, it goes back to something I said years ago. It's the Ant-Man dilemma. You watch the Paul Rudd Ant-Man movie, it's objectively, everything's in focus, as Rob loves to say.
It's fine. It's fine.
Exactly. And that's the problem, though, is that Disney doesn't make bad movies anymore. They make okay movies, for better or worse. Occasionally something will just sneak out that happens to be objectively good. But that's the problem, though, is that it's McDonald's. Like, McDonald's serves millions upon millions of customers a day, but you will be genuinely hard pressed to find someone that says the Big Mac is their favorite burger. Rob, maybe in high school you would have said that.
Oh, but yes, I would have.
I know. But that's the point, though, is that they are in the game of appeasing everybody, not trying to raise the bar in any sort of meaningful way. And if they do by happenstance raise the bar, they treat it as this weird sort of accident. Again, like going back to our conversation about obsession, backrooms, like look at Zach Krieger with Barbarian. That is a Disney movie. And yet Disney does not want to be proud of it. And yet you have a mega media conglomerate really not want to do anything with it.
Which is very unfortunate. As I know we've talked about, Zach, the moment that movie's on Blu-ray, I will buy it.
Zach Krieger, like in the aftermath of Weapons, couldn't even get really like. There's always rumors that film's coming to home video, but it's the point that like any other studio would be chomping at the bit for something like that, and yet Disney does not want anything to do with it. And I think that's the problem, is that it's very hit or miss with them. The problem was before you could at least understand it. Now the method to the madness seems to almost be non-existent.
I was about to say the same thing. I don't understand it. Even before you said, like, I don't understand it. We don't understand it. I don't get the decisions they're making, you know? On my end, I'm like, if you sold me a 4K Blu-ray for $40 that had that Barbarian like totally red poster of her looking down the hallway, I'd buy it in a second. But that's one cell. They need more cells. I get that. They need more purchasers. I understand that. But it's like, why are they only doing that for things that are so strongly IP, intellectual property, that don't get the response like those indie movies do, you know? I mean, I was shocked. I think I told you this, Zach. When Cuckoo from 2024, the Hunter Schafer movie, when that got announced on physical media, I pre-ordered it. I pre-ordered it in like July, and it was like October 1st it's coming out. I had to wait till January of the next year to get that. And I did. I waited for it. I waited for my $35 just out in the ether because I love that movie. There's a confluence of a lot of stuff happening there. Me wanting to wait for it, me wanting to pay for it, the idea of listing a pre-release and then backing it up for so long. There's a lot of problems to that, but I did it. I cared about that movie. That's what Star Wars should be. Zach, you with 6 theater-going viewings, you should be like, I also, on my last 6 movie-going experience, there was a random credit card reader in the wall, and I swiped my card and it said, let's help the Avengers beat Thanos. You would have done that. I would have done that after my 3rd viewing of Barbarian. Guaranteed. I would have done it after my 1st viewing of Obsession. I was like, Curry Barker. I was like, up, down, credit card. I was like, you make another movie right now, you know? But they don't do that. They put it onto like merchandise. They put it onto everything else.
But you
don't put it where it matters.
I don't think, well, I think part of it too is that like in years prior, it was the goalposts are always moving. Now, I don't think they even know where the goalposts are.
No, not at all.
And that's where you have things like you just, what is success anymore? What is success for a movie? What is success for a streaming series? What is success for any of it? Like, that's my question, is that like, it's like, oh, you'll hear the stories about how like, oh, this movie, The Mandolinian and Big Whiskey, is underperforming, but Big Whiskey merchandise has sold like $1 billion over the last 2 years. So it's just like, okay, is this just a glorified commercial to move merch? Which is something that's been going on for, good God, that's what the 80s were with all the different cartoons, whether it was Masters of the Universe, whether it was Transformers, like, oh, the cartoon is an advertisement for the product. I don't know. And that's the thing about Disney is that I think, again, you have a new CEO with Star Wars, you have new studio heads. It's going to be interesting. I do think that the times are changing, that cannot be discounted. And I think this movie is, again, it's similar to what the Clone Wars 2008 movie was in 2008. Like, we can't also help that. Like, think about it, Rob. Summer of 2008, you get Iron Man and the Dark Knight, which fundamentally changes the trajectory of Hollywood.
Yeah, I just watched all Nolan Batmans recently. I'm trying to watch all the Nolans.
I saw.
And I can't deny that Dark Knight is still really, really good. I can't deny it. As much as I have a distaste for superheroes, for Batman, especially, you can't deny what that film does. And I think that's what Star Wars is missing, or maybe not missing. I think that's what Star Wars is looking for. They're looking for that landmark hit. And that's why it takes me back to that the moment George Lucas dies, they're going to announce the remake of A New Hope. And they're going to be like, this is going to be the highest grossing movie of all time. And honestly, if they do it right, it could be. But will they do it right? No, not at all. We have the Lion King live action as
directed by
precedent
Jon
for
Favreau.
that. Exactly.
Directed by Jon Favreau.
Who are they going to give it to? Filoni and Favreau. Absolutely. Are they going to mess it up? 100%.
So with this, to kind of bring this conversation to a close, Rob, Project Hail Mary, going into the future of Star Wars with Ryan Gosling.
Well, if you have to bring up that, I do have a few other small questions about Mando and Big Whiskey.
Sure.
If we could get to them. Okay. I'm just going to go through in the order I have in my notes, which are not chronological. When the 4 Babu Fricks first appear, Big Whiskey walks over to them, and they all seem afraid or angry with him. Yes. And then there's this moment where the Mandalorian's like, if I let you talk to the Babu Fricks, are you going to be nice? And then that just disappears immediately. Is that something from the show? What is that?
Yes. In season 3 of the show, Mandalorian is trying to put together the IG-11 droid from season 1 that gets bloated up. And the one that wanted to kill Big Whiskey? Well, that's from season 1. So just, you have to bear with me for this.
Okay.
Is that the IG-11 bloated up at the end of season 1. Season 3, he's trying to rebuild it as a marshal of the town that Carl Weathers is running. And that's all you can say to that sentence. That's the nicest thing you can say to that sentence. And so he brings all the parts of IG-11 to the Babu Fricks, and it's like, oh, can you fix this? And of course, in typical cartoon shenanigans, Big Whiskey just starts manhandling the Babu Fricks. So yes, that is a level of continuity from season 3.
But that does, in the movie, that just disappears. Right.
Yes, because that's what happens though. Is that we have one moment of bad baby, go away, baby,
and then the Mandalorian says away. Are you gonna play nice? And he goes, I'm not even on video. I did a little puppet movement there, and it's like, okay, doesn't matter anymore. Yep.
But yes, that is some level of continuity.
Okay, that was something that really made me confused. The next thing is this the first appearance of Sigourney Weaver? Weaver, sorry, in The Mandalorian?
Yes, because Carl Weathers is dead and Gina Carano is persona non grata. Yeah, practically dead.
Okay, let me tell you, I mean, here's going back to what you were saying about the continuity of filmmaking and things like that. Sigourney Weaver in her last 2 scenes when she's in the spaceship, getting that front viewing, TIE fighter, like what Porkins gets, that type of thing. And then when she's out in the Star Wars getup, I'm like, ooh, this looks stupid. It really looked dumb. Sigourney Weaver was checked out the entire movie, and I can give you credit for a checked out performance when you're an actor of that status. But when they put you in the costumes and they put you in the getup, I'm like, you look dumb. You should not be doing this.
But here's my point, though. And this is what I find fascinating about her performance in this movie is that you have Jon Favreau, who is a king of ad-lib, on set. The man knows how to just jive with personalities.
Okay.
Sigourney's been around forever. She can be jaded in some of her performances, like, but she's not Harrison Ford level where like she just has a puss on her face every single shot. My thing is like, you look at Jimmy C and Jimmy C's directing of her in Abada 2 and 3, where she's like playing like a 15-year-old like Navi, like reincarnated version of her character. Sigourney can emote and she can act. So my question is that you have Jon Favreau who loves ad-libbing on set, and you have Sigourney who is by no shadow of a doubt a competent, qualified actress. Why is it that they are directing her to be this stoic and monotone in her delivery?
Great.
Or why?
Yes.
Or even more baffling, why did they choose those takes to be in the final film?
This is one of the things that led me to be like, oh, this was remnants of a TV show. You know, like this would be a 2-second shot in an 8-episode TV show, but now it's a main shot in a movie.
I will say that there, in the last trailer they produced for this film, it begins with a voiceover by Sigourney where she goes, and she is, oh God, giving some level of inflection with her voice. She goes, we've all heard stories of a Mandalorian and his child.
Like a narrator thing?
In the trailer.
Okay, in the trailer. Okay.
But yes, it is a level of, for like 10 seconds narration.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, so Sigourney recorded this dialogue and then you either chose not to put it in the film or you excised it for whatever reason that we could be here forever discussing.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we said earlier about cutting it down, building it up, all that stuff. Okay,
yeah.
sure.
And that's where I wonder, like, because even at her last scene in the movie, where like one of my biggest issues with the Mandalorian as a character is how he always says something that's not true, and then the character he's speaking with goes, "Sure, Mando." It's like it's like oh, like again, Sigourney was like, "Oh, the Hutts picked a side. We had to like make them pay the price for it," and it's just like he's like, "I'm just an independent contractor," and she's like, "Sure, Mando." It's like. But like, at least when she says "Sure, Mando," she's at least giving some level of a performance. Like it is wafer thin level performance.
Wafer thin, yes.
But like she's at least smirking at the camera, which is something she hasn't done up until this point.
But I have to give you, I'm laughing hysterically at the fact where you got the Mandalorian, you got Big Whiskey, you got Sigourney Weaver, and they're all there, and there's another character who comes up and he's like, "Hey, Sigourney Weaver, you got the stuff?" And she goes, "Yeah, I do." And she like reaches down off camera, pulls up like a bag of powder, and Big Whiskey's like, he like waves his hand, little puppet hand, and then it cuts to Mandalorian. Wow, I cannot even make this into a movie that we saw, because I was about to say, the Mandalorian looks a little confused, and then he looks at the buyer, and then he walks away, and the Mandalorian has to be like, "You gave him some flour in that." And Sigourney Weaver's like, "Nobody would have known that if your little puppet didn't have the Force, you know? That'd be so interesting." And be like, "Oh, we get smugglers that are now working for the new Resistance, you know? Like they're dealing with the not so quite, you know, the ne'er-do-wells, dare I say." Now I'm just getting off into everything that would have made this movie better.
All right, Rob, any other questions you may or may not have?
Yes. Well, Zach, this is one. Well, actually, I should say this first. I don't think you got this.
Oh.
Road of the Hutt is not like his father.
He is not.
I don't think you got that. I just wanted to mention that one more time. I have to say, in the scene, the first scene where we are really introduced to Chicken Cutlet Parmesan, swole Chicken Cutlet Parmesan, when he's in like the cage and he's getting the massage, and the Mandalorian and Big Whiskey are like, you know, "Hey, we're here to save you," and he's like, "I don't need saving. I'm a hero. I'm a gladiator." And they're like, "No, you're oppressed." And he's like, "Have you ever seen the movie Gladiator?" The Chicken Cutlet Parmesan is like who's that little kid? And he points it at Big Whiskey. And the Mandalorian's like, that's my pet. Don't worry about him. And he goes, can I feed him? And I immediately was like, he's going to eat him. Like, that is 100% what's going to happen. Like, this Hutt is going to pick this stupid puppet up and eat it. And that didn't happen, which I was upset about because I would love to see the death of this stupid puppet. But Zach, don't let me just one more thing. In that moment, when he says, "Can I feed it?" I'm not like my dad, but can I feed it? Just so you know, I want to feed that, but I'm not like my dad. Can I feed it? I'm not like my dad. And he goes, like the Mandalorian goes, "Stay," and then Big Whiskey
heal. He says heal. He says heal.
And then he says heal. Yes. And he goes heal. And I'm like, oh, he doesn't care if it gets eaten or not. It's a dog to him. I would really love to know, is this in the show? Because I saw all of season 1 and I saw pieces of season 2. And then I saw like a scene from season 3, all at your doing, not yours, but Knights of Vader. Has this been established before? I don't remember the Mandalorian talking to Big Whiskey like it's a pet.
No, it's like, yes, there are moments where he does treat him like kind of like as an unruly child in season 3, but in this film,
different from a pet.
Yes. He tells Big Whiskey to heal twice during this movie.
I would have guessed 8 times if you actually asked me. That's insane. The
idea of him being his like ward / apprentice, and he uses the term heal on 2 separate occasions, which is narratively and script wise extraordinarily lazy, but just when it comes to the camaraderie of your characters, it is very demeaning yet highly laughable.
Yeah, that stood out to me because I did not pick up on that from the show. If anything, I thought it was going to be a moment for Road of the Hutt to be like, oh, you said heal to it. It's a pet. I can eat it. You know, that type of thing. But there is like, that moment. It won't mean that much to you if this thing dies.
But there's a moment. Did you pick up on the moment at the end where like Big Whiskey like turns off the torture for Road of the Hutt, and like he's trying to wake him up. He's like awkwardly flailing his puppet paws. And then like one of the twins comes over and starts like awkwardly salivating at Big Whiskey. Like did you pick up on that at all?
I kind of remember that now that you've mentioned it, but at that point in the movie, I think moments are happening. Any discernible moments of character activity are happening so quickly, they're unrecognizable at that point.
Okay, fair.
Also, well, I do remember the moment. I do remember the moment where Mandalorian and Big Whiskey come back, and the Hutts, the twin Hutts, are like, "Yeah, you see him over there? We have him in constant Black Mirror death status. He's living 1,000 years in 1 minute, and it's your fault." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't like. What does it matter? Like for the motivation of the Mandalorian to save Road of the Hutt, Chicken Hutt the Parmesan." It wouldn't matter if he's living out 17,000, 18,000, 180,000 years. Why is that said? It's like he's being tortured. Okay, I got to save him. Instead, they're like, have you ever seen Black Mirror on Netflix? Go watch it now. It's #2 in the country. Black Mirror. We're torturing him forever, and it's your fault. And I'm like, just say you're torturing him. What are we doing? We've spent so little time on anything meaningful in this movie. Why are you spending time on a minute detail?
It's the sort of moments that like you would appreciate if they punctuated the entire film, but when they are there, they stand out as jarring.
Absolutely, because what happens at the end? Like you said, Big Whiskey waves his hands, and then Road of the Hutt just gets lifted up from the pit, and he's like, "Thank you, Big Whiskey, but I'm not like my dad." And it's like Big Whiskey should have dropped him right back in the pit right there. Be like, okay, you're your dad if you're saying it this much.
I do love the fact like when like they escape the pit arena and like Chicken Hutlet like literally like finds a speeder, rips the seats out, and it's like, sorry, I can't go back. And like they chase him through the city streets. And I love that like they corner him on the elevated train. And I love how he goes like, hey man, can't blame a guy for trying.
I'm not like my dad.
But like, why is the character saying the phrase "you can't blame a guy for trying"? Like Rob, remember how one of my favorite questions is: imagine if every other movie ended like Transformers 4, where the main character goes off to kill God.
Yes.
Yes. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that if every chase movie or any sort of movie like that, where like the main character is being chased and goes, "Sorry, you can't blame a guy for trying," the moment like they are thwarted? Imagine watching
the end of Nonstop, where Liam Neeson is poised as a terrorist on the train. He's like, can't help a guy from trying to go fly this Boeing 737 to fight God. You know, that time.
I like to imagine the ending of the Ocean's 11 remake, and it's George Clooney and like Andy Garcia, and George Clooney's just like in the little interrogation room. It's like, can't blame a guy for trying. Like,
you can do whatever you want with Tess, but I'm going to fight God. And then George Clooney in that small box casino interrogation room shoots up like Homelander with a sword and I'm going to fight God. And Andy Garcia is like, I don't know if I want to be with Julia Roberts anymore. Regardless if I can live up to the guy who fights God, I don't think I want that in my life. Period. I'd rather make millions of dollars on the Las Vegas Strip.
Oh my God.
And then Don Cheadle's like, this is the thing they built the channel with, because that's like the last 2/3 of that series.
Oh my God.
We built the channel with it.
Good God, Rob. All right. Any more questions about the movie?
Let me see. Yes. Well, not so much a question. But Zach, the thing that I sent to you, it's outside of my Letterboxd review. It was sent solely to you because you're the only person that was going to understand. And I'm looking at my notes, and all of them
I know
are
exactly where this is
except
going.
for this. We got 4 Babu Fricks in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's too many Babu Fricks. Actually, here's my first question, because I don't remember. In The Rise of Skywalker, when Babu Frick showed up, did he speak English or did he speak subtitle language? When he was fixing C-3PO.
No, there's no subtitles. It's a more muddled version of what they do in this. The Babu Fricks will occasionally, like, you'll hear them like kind of mumble over each other, but at the end of their like 10 seconds of mumbling, you'll recognize a couple of words and be like, oh, I get what it is. It's like the SpongeBob episode where it's the going back to
rock bottom.
Bikini
Yep.
Yes, it's that. In The Rise of Skywalker, Babu just talks exclusively in gibberish to the point where I'm pretty sure it's an actual line of dialogue from Daisy Ridley where she goes like, what?
Babu Frick, can you help us with this? Zori, is this gonna work?
Please don't say this is correct, but in The Rise of Skywalker, when Babu Frick does this gibberish, does it rely on C-3PO going, I know the whole point of why I'm in this scene is to distinguish a language, but I can't distinguish that language, but I can distinguish every language that's being spoken on screen right now. Is that what's going on in that scene?
They need him to speak Sith, and he can only speak Sith if Babu Frick like resets his like protocol.
Good.
That's why they go to Babu Frick.
Reset it. Oh my God. I mean, this is nothing new. If my technology does not work the way I want it to, I'm taking a paper clip, I'm bending it into a point, and I'm finding that factory reset default button. Because if you're a piece of my technology and you're not doing what I want you to do, you're dead to me. Rob, do you know the what happened? Like the story behind Babu Frick and The Rise of Skywalker? Like was Steven Spielberg? Was Steven Spielberg? No, not at all.
Okay, so Babu Frick has his scene where they reset C-3PO's memory. Yada. Yep. And then supposedly J.J. Abrams showed Steven Spielberg an early cut of the film and like being one of his mentors and said, "Oh, what do you think?" And apparently Spielberg's only note from the film was, "What happened to that Babu Frick guy?" which forced the scene where the Kerry Russell character just kind of inexplicably shows up in a Y-wing. And when Oscar Isaac gets excited that she's there, Babu pops up in the cockpit and goes, "Ho ho!" And that is the reason why Babu is in the cockpit, was because Steven Spielberg's only note from the film was, "What happened to that guy?"
I don't like any of what you just said to me, but what you did just say to me makes me think that you've told me this story before, 9 years ago, whenever it was, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, and I had the same thought that I have now, that Steven Spielberg was like, "Where's that Babu Frick guy?" And J.J. Abrams' response was to put in the one-eyed thumb from the Thumb movies. That's what it sounds like. That you just Steven Spielberg was like, "You gotta make him be the thumb," and whoo-hoo! That sucks. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Rob, please tell me that's your last question, because I want to ask you one. I have one question to ask you, but it needs to be the last question.
Okay, that'll be the end of things. But of course, I have to say, what I didn't say in my Letterboxd review, what I felt the whole movie. It's only for Zach. This is a great expectation.
Yes, please. I know where this is going, but please.
The 4 Babu Fricks that show up, they speak like the Rastafarian eyeballs from Freaked. Like every time the Babu Fricks had dialogue, because when they first showed up, I was shocked that they were speaking English. They were like, "Bad baby, angry baby, no, 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 no." Like when Big Whiskey shows up, and I was like, "What are we doing here?" But then they kept talking, like in the scenes where they help Big Whiskey like get through the the sewers to save the Mandalorian from the big snake monster in the water. And then when one of them gets captured, they have to go save him. They're always like, "Oh, no, 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 you do this, you do that." I could not think of them doing anything like, "Ah, my eyes, Rastafarian eyes. You think you can get away with this. It's the scene when the Rastafarian eyes go into the freak shed when Bobcat Goldthwait is trying to escape, and he's like, "I'm not afraid of you," and they go, you die, shoot, you die," and it's like, that is... Now, Zach, let me tell you, in 2026, I have not done yet my annual rewatch of Freaked.
Oh.
I do it every year. I did it last year in the great way of the umbrella Australian cut that I spent like $60 on, but that's exactly what I thought they were. They were the Rastafarian eyeballs, I wanted them to get hit and like Mandalorian go, "Oh, darn my eyes," that type of thing.
Speaking of too hot for the audience, Rob, it has been nearly 6.5 years.
Oh God.
But you mentioned it though.
Okay.
The thighs of Sky Skipper?
Yep, the thighs of Sky Skipper. I don't believe that will ever exist. I just think it's a thing that will exist on the internet. I mean, it is very similar to the glob glod rod god concept from Adventure Time. That's never going to happen. That was a comic series that the Adventure creators talked about as like an origin story for Adventure Time. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. If it did, I would love it. But
Rob,
it's never going to happen.
Final question for you.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Before you say final. Nope, I did everything. I crossed off everything from my notes. Yeah, okay, final. Yeah.
Okay, final.
Final about the Mandalorian and Big Whiskey.
Yes. This is the perfect question to end the conversation with. What do we get first? The Barbarian Blu-ray or the thighs of Sky Skipper?
Ooh.
No better way to end this discussion but with that question.
I hate to say it, the thighs of Sky Skipper.
Really?
Yeah, I think Disney is more traditionalist And if somebody in any executive contention, if like new executives get hired to Disney, they're going to have a bigger uphill battle from precedent, from previous decisions, than like a Steve Odekirk being like, this is the first thing I've made for you guys, which is not, of course, the first, but I think it's a bigger uphill battle for an existing thing that got canceled earlier than a new thing, if that makes sense.
Interesting. So you think Thighs of Skyskipper never like saw completion?
No, I don't think so. I actually am very cynical about that, as much as I would love to be optimistic. I think the Thighs of Skyskipper was a gigantic, like, just fake psyop, you know? It was like Steve Odekirk was trying to will this stuff into existence, and it never happened. You can't do it. You can't do it because of Baby Yoda. I mean, in the Thumb Wars universe, one of the greatest characters of all time is Puppet. It's in the Thumb Wars. It's like Loke Groundrunner goes to him and he goes like, I am here to learn the ways of the thumb. And he goes, I am a puppet. And then Steve Odekirk, as Loke Groundrunner, goes, I don't understand. I don't follow. And he goes, beneath the floor, man does control me. I don't follow. Shoulder goes to arm. Arm goes to joint. Joint goes to hand. And hand controls mouth. I'm here to learn the ways of the thumb. Now, touch your tongue to mine. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen again. It's the greatest thing ever. It's never going to happen again. Should Disney Star Wars lean deep into that notion? Absolutely. Because the puppet is fantastic in the Thumb Wars movies. But as I think, Zach, you have said a long, long time ago, and Zenger, who also said long time ago, much to his dismay, they're not going to let us make fun of Star Wars anymore.
No, that is for sure.
That's why we're never going to get the Thighs of Skyskipper.
Very disappointing. All right. With that being said, so concludes this episode.
Wait, we're not talking about Obsession. We're not talking about Backrooms. We're not talking about Project Hail Mary. We're not talking about Send Help. We're not talking about Sylvain Chomet's French movie, Marcel and Monsieur Pagnon. We're not talking about The Testament of Anne Lee. We're not talking about another movie from this year.
Marth Vader in the Facebook group, if you're still listening and haven't unsubscribed, nothing will make you unsubscribe.
Hey, let me say, I know we're ending this episode. I just want to say to not only to the audience, but specifically to you, Zach, and Chris, who was not able to be here for the entire time. Not so much to Zenger, because Zenger, I think, has just goaded me into tangents over the years. I think I was very locked in for this episode. Oh, yes. Yes, it's not the gin, it's Zenger. No, I think I was very locked in for this episode. I think we had a good time. We had some great comments. And you know what?
Ooh,
you just gotta 2032. Give me another 6 years. I'll be back on Knights of Vader. We'll have good discussions like this. I think we had a great time. We did. Rob will be. Rob, I'm not gonna lie. So patronizing. Zach's like, we did. Calm down. Let me end the episode.
No, Rob. There's good. Ideally, there'll be at least one more Rob episode this year. Ideally.
Okay. I don't know what that would be, but okay. I don't want to know.
Excited.
I also don't want to know. Unless
excited.
You're over here getting me to talk about like Send Help or something.
Okay, weirdly specific.
That's not weirdly specific. It's the first real movie Sam Raimi's made in like a billion years. You and I should appreciate that, Zach.
Yes, the bar is set incredibly low. We've almost tripped over it how many times?
I like that. I think I said to you, Zach, once that Ben and I use the trope of it's such low-hanging fruit you can pick it up off the ground. I like that you're saying the bar is so low you trip over it. I like that. Yeah, everybody, Cinemoddities, which doesn't exist. Knights of Vader, which greatly exists. Check it out.
Yes.
And then my job as a GED teacher. Check that out too if you need it. It's all great.
If you need your GED and happen to live in the Commonwealth of Colorado, let Rob know.
Commonwealth of Northern Colorado. There you go.
Thank you for the clarification.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, let me just say, Zach, Chris, Zenger, Russell, Joe, everybody, I'm so glad you guys got me on here. I can't deny that when I sat down and to the movies and watched The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I wrote my letterbox review, I had him back in my head. I was like, I really hope Zach wants me to talk about this. And you did. And I'm so happy. And I hope we did something awesome. But Zach, like you said, they're going to hear my voice and the downloads are going to drop. So I hope they can latch on for this long and know how cool it is. Correction,
Rob. They're going to see the runtime of the episode, then hear your voice.
Oh, they're different from Cinemoddities. They don't want 3+ hours. That's what we get out. No. Oh, wow. Okay.
But as Rob said, Facebook group, Knights of Vader, Instagram, Knights of Vader. If you like what you're hearing, please rate, review, subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, whatever platform you are currently listening to us on.
An Insperiority Complex page. They got 2 live videos. One of them's Knights of Vader. Check it out.
Yes. Check out the come for the Knights of Vader theme song, stay for the girl crying in the coffee shop video. Oh, wow. It will always be the true... incredible video. I'll never stop.
That's a Jeremy thing. Jeremy likes to point that out. I don't like to point that out.
I love that. I love the fact that your father pans over to that. It's great. You can't ask for a better
Zach, that is the literal worst time for me to go, I'm not like my dad. Because I would totally be like my dad. If I was in that position, I'd be like, wow, my son is doing a live performance for the first time. What is going on over there?
Your father's a showman, Rob. He knows what people are coming for. Like, sure, we can see people think all the time, but seeing a girl awkwardly cry while people are trying to perform, he was a visionary. He knew what TikTok culture was going to become.
No, that's actually a great point. But also, I need to respect the fact that after that, when I saw my dad using the camera that way, he was like, "We'll get to see you guys again." You're never going to see a woman crying again. And I was like, Dad, it's not up to you to decide.
Alrighty, folks. Good night, but not goodbye. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Who's that flyer?
Take a guess, Spice Runner.